Well, good evening, everyone. And as you saw briefly there, we're going to be discussing the letter. Now, me and the fart command got into a bit of a discussion today, and I told the fart command or the high command, whatever you want to call them, keeps making false accusations against me and is incapable of putting proof behind their accusations. And there was the discussion about the chat, which in every single solitary video that the high command does, or task force, I should say, they're all the same thing. They use the so-called chat. And what is interesting is August 11th is going to be, or August 8th actually, marks 11 years since someone came forward and confessed to creating the chat. And the letter was entitled Open Letter to Mert. And it was on a blog called Justice, the number 4 for Mert. The individual who wrote this letter was convicted of wire fraud. And she, it's a female, served 2.5 years in Texas State Prison for her crime. She did 5 years probation, and she is not allowed on the internet for the rest of her life. She was part of a 2 individual team who created this chat. And I'm putting this letter up there in its entirety so that people understand that this fake chat was confessed to, the person was convicted and sent to prison for it. Now, I made a promise to this individual that I would never disclose who she is, where she was arrested, other than it was the state of Texas and so forth. Now, people have found her record. It was supposed to have been sealed, but apparently it wasn't. And so the record of her incarceration and what she did is out there if somebody bothers to take the time to look for it. I'm not the one that's going to be looking for it because I am satisfied that she has atoned for what she did. She stays in touch, even though she's in very serious illness right now. And she just, she's 10 years younger than me. And that's about all I'll say. Turned out she was a really nice person, but she got involved in something over her head. Monoxide MMAC recruited her because of her abilities to do certain things on the internet. She had a reputation in the past. She was involved with Anonymous. QAnon didn't exist back then. Good evening, Fish Kebab. Welcome to the live stream tonight. So anyway, I am going to read this letter in its entirety so that people understand just what was going on at the time. And it starts like this. Dear Murd, while I can't go back in time and change what myself and others have done to you, I would like to offer up my sincerest and deepest apologies to you. And while I can't undo the damage that's already done, it makes sleeping for me a little easier at night by me clearing my conscience of the horrible things I've done and said about you. As I look back, I realize just how childish and immature all of us acted towards you and for what. To this day, I'm not sure of the reason, but if I had to guess, I would say some people were just out to get you. Now, back then, there was a lot going on, and, you know, similar to what's going now. At the time this letter was written, I knew very little about Tim Holmseth and his antics. I heard of him and maybe had made a comment about him, and it turns out, as I would find out later, that it was precisely my defense of Tim Holmseth at that time that started all of this. Now, we go on. Mark, I'm an adult, and I am here to take full responsibility for my actions and my actions alone. And if the others who were involved are adults, they too would take full responsibility for their actions and apologize. So I can't speak for the others, but someday they too will see that destroying someone's life for the sake of lulls, as they like to say, is pathetic, really pathetic. No fun ever came from watching another human being getting treated so badly as you were. I wish I had only realized that sooner and not had the blinders on. I could have ended this before it even started, Mert, but I made the choice to hang with the so-called cool kids, if that's what you want to call them. All I had to do was say no. Instead, I made the decision to do all the wrong things, and now I need to make the wrongs right. Mert, I see there is a new group of e-bullies that have sunk to a new low and have involved your deceased wife and son. That, in my book, is the lowest form of scum to ever live. One line I never crossed with you, Mert, was that of family or family members, and when others did that, that is when I took the high road and left. Now, these new e-bullies have crossed all lines known to humankind by involving family in some stupid internet blogging war. I don't know who they are, and I'm sure I am not missing much by not knowing them. But one thing is for sure, Mert, be the bigger person here and let the scum talk their trash and don't respond. Well, that didn't work. If there is one thing I have learned from the people I was mixed up with, Mert, it had to be this. They say things like these new etards are saying about your wife and son because they are wanting a reaction from you. So don't play their etard games, Mert. Let them spew their hate because in the end, that's what's going to happen is someone in their little circle of friends is going to turn on them just as I have on mine. And they will be left with nothing more than one or two little e-buddies that will question whether or not they want to remain friends with them or not because of their hateful remarks about your family members. These etard thinks it is cool to say these things now, but wait a few days when people have the time to digest what is written, and God forbid if these etards have children of their own. Mert, I just wanted to write this open letter to express my sincerest apology for everything that I have done to you over the years and ask you not to let these newest etards get under your skin. Now, the person signs her name Pat Doe, and it is, of course, a fake name she used to protect herself. And as I said, she was caught and convicted in federal court and served time, was put on probation, and she is prohibited from being on the internet. And that's unfortunate for her because at the time she was working in an occupation that required the extensive use of computers. So she had to change her name or her occupation. I don't know what she is doing now, but the latest I knew that she had to retire early because of her illness. She's no longer working. And that's about it. Now, there is a little bit more here. Let me bring up this slide. This was a comment she made in the blog after I had replied to her. And she goes on to say, Mert, I too am sorry for all I have done to you. Blank, radio, and blank all involved me because I said, and I quote, we want the old man to suffer for trying to out us. Mert, all they are doing is pulling your chains in hopes of getting you off the internet. The only reason I leave nasty, vile comments is because I want them all to think I condone what they are doing when in fact I don't. I know what horrible, disgusting people all of them are, and I don't want to be part of their lives any longer. I'm sorry, Mert. Now, in the beginning of the blog, as you notice, this blog was created on August 4th, 2012. And if you go back and study the timeline of Timothy Charles Holmseth at that time and what was going on in my blog, the Mert Witness 1 archive, this date makes a whole lot of sense. But anyway, the introduction is hers. Hello and welcome. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Pat Dell. Not really, but for safety reasons, that is the name I'll be using. You see, I made this block to help clear a man's name, to try and restore some dignity to a man who clearly was set up by some people, including myself, who wanted to bring this man so much shame and anguish in hopes he would end his life. Why? That's something I'll divulge as we go along our journey in clearing the name of William K. Murtaugh, aka Mert. I'll take you from being a Rough Rider at Ustream to time spent at Mertmania. This is a key here. And from there, we go to Pale Talk, and you will learn how I became the creator of those now infamous fake PMs. So in the coming weeks, I'll explain the part I played in making Mert the laughing stock of the internet and why it was done, in hopes that others who are involved will come forward as well. Now, Task Force, High Command, whatever you want to call her, simply cannot understand that the chats were fake. She demands that I come forward with a police report or some other form that would show that the chats were fake. And all Tim Holmseth, the so-called investigative reporter, would have to do was find out for himself. Tim Holmseth declares that he is a investigative reporting. It should be no problem for this investigative reporter who claims to have solved all these criminal cases, all these missing child cases, helped bring down Epstein and outed the founders, to find out if a screenshot of a chat is genuine. And he would find out that it is not, that it is clearly a fake. This individual on this blog admitted to it. And people were not happy when this came out because they did not want my name cleared. They crucified that person, although they never figured out who she was. I think one or two have, but they have decided it's better to leave her alone because of the fact that she has contact with the law enforcement agents that found her and convicted her, and she would be more than willing, if necessary, to testify against these individuals. And so because of that, they have left her alone. Now, I am never going to convince anybody over on the Holmseth side that they are lying. Those people are so entrenched and so brainwashed that they are never, ever going to believe that these chats are fake. Now, for whatever reason, Randy Lynn Erickson, who owns TimothyCharlesHolmseth.com, insists on labeling me as an alleged child killer. That's a dangerous thing to be doing. She is putting me in harm's way because she is affiliated with some extremely violent people in the QAnon movement. People in the QAnon movement are some of these people are Proud Boys and other sovereign vigilantes who would quickly take the law into their own hands and, based on Tim Homseth's writing, would end my life. And so if I am ever shot, killed, or otherwise disappear, you will know why. And a document has been put into a folder marked in the event of my death, with detailed information regarding Homseth and Erickson, and explaining that if I am dead, they are why. And their writings incited violence. If that's what it takes to get through to people, then maybe somebody's going to have to kill me. I don't know. But this doesn't sink through their thick heads. They seem to enjoy it. They laugh about it, and they make snide remarks over on their accounts. And that's, what we're having to live with here. So I just had to get this on YouTube. It's been on the blog for years. This particular blog is out there, and it eventually, when I edit this video, I'll put it in this room so that you all can examine it. But I figured at least it's on the record that someone out there claims to have made the fake chat. They apologize for it, and so forth. And what task force decides to do with this live stream, we'll find out, because she already put up another video. And and once, let me bring it up just for the heck of it. I did not want to spend a whole hell of a lot of time on this because I had another subject I was going to discuss, and perhaps someone that is going to be willing to come on and give her story. And we'll get to that in just a minute. But I want to go through one final thing here in regards to task force. And I hit the wrong thing. I don't want that. There's a way to do this without going through all that rigmarole. And this is on September 11th of all things. This is what Timothy Charles Homseth and Randy Erickson thinks is important. Alleged child rapist / serial killer. Now, this is what they say about me. They say it in 1, 2, 3, up to about 10 or 15 separate videos. They insist that I am an alleged child rapist serial killer. Now, who is it that is alleging this? It is not the Lake County Sheriff's Department. It is not the Leesburg City Police Department. It is not the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. It is not the FBI. It is not any law enforcement agency anywhere in the world. It is only Timothy Charles Homseth and Randy Lynn Erickson that is making this allegation. It is they and they alone that are making this allegation. But because of this little headline that goes up on Google as part of a Google search, this is what is preventing me from getting a decent paying job. My occupation should allow me to get a job where I would be making in excess of $100,000 a year. I'm unable to do that. I'm unable to get a job at Walmart or any retail establishment or anywhere where I would interact directly with the public. All because of Randy Lynn Erickson and Timothy Charles Homseth. They understand that, They know they are lying, but they refuse to back down and leave me alone. They're doing the same thing to uh, Kim Picasio and other people. They won't even let a dead man alone. John Regan has been dead for a decade, and yet they insist on saying that this John Tanner, who is a former federal agent, is that man, and that he was involved in the Haley Cummings case. This is a bald-faced lie. Timmy knows it's a lie, but he keeps on with the lie. There's even a legacy autopsy or obituary out there about this man who is being subjected to all these false accusations by Tim Homestead, and comparing him to a guy that is currently alive, well, has a family, has written scores of books, highly successful, and just happens to be a friend and ally of Craig Sawyer. And he is aware of what's going on. So there is that. Lurid, thanks for the information. Okay, let's see if you want to come on. I'm done with this particular subject anyway. Okay. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, Lurid, because there's someone else. I'm going to put up, if I can figure out how to do it, the StreamYard link. I'm having a memory fog here. I got to remember how to do this. Okay, here we go. Invite. And we'll put it over here. Okay. This is the link to StreamYard, Lurid. So if you know how to use StreamYard, you click StreamYard, you click on that. And I'm also going to put up this link so that you know how to come into StreamYard. And I don't know. What I don't know is that's a whole bunch of gobbledygook, so I don't know if you're going to be able to hit that link. But if you, what that does, if you put it on your web page, it gives you the instructions that way. So you're more than welcome to come in. And there was, I know Warrior Mommy might want to come in, and there's another. I've been having conversations about that. I think Paige, I think that it was suggested that you come on. And so, like I said, just follow that link. This is the link in question. And it's in the chat, but you can do a copy, paste, and do it that way. I think you have to sign. I think you have to get in using the StreamYard software. And anybody that's had experience with it can explain to you how to use StreamYard. But what this is in reference to, I know one of the things that is being talked talked about, and one of the subject is, oh, and here, this is, you know, that was from the previous, but this is my next subject, and that is Mr. David Straight. I have been getting reams of information about Mr. Straight from victims of his scams. I have learned in great detail how all this came about, how all the various parties in this little enterprise that we're in right now came together. And I have learned that David Straight is making more money than I originally thought. This guy, if he is not a millionaire, he's getting there on the backs of gullible fools that believe his crap. And there's at least 2 individuals that want to come on here and talk. And if we can get them to figure out, well, that's unfortunate if she did. But I am culling the information together. I've got some editing I have to do to the material that was sent to me, but it's very damning. And basically what happens is, in one case, a woman attended one of Mr. Straight's seminars, and she was having problems with CPS. And Mr. Straight said that he could help her out for money. And so it started off with $200, and it eventually got into several $1,000s. And I sent all kinds of strange documents, birth certificates, denouncing your citizenship, getting passports that I'm not sure what. I'm going through all this material, volumes and volumes and volumes of it, trying to come up with an organized way of telling us. There's a huge amount of information, and it's going to take time to get this out. And what I'm doing is I'm getting into a file right now. Come on. This, because I got contacted on another social media account, and it's taking. I think she's trying to work out. I haven't seen her show up yet. The minute she shows up, okay, what happened? Oh, that's interesting. Well, something's going on here. No, that's not the right one. I'm going to well, at least I've got some of the documents. I'm not sure what happened over here. But anyway, anyone that wants to come on, this is the link. Where on earth? That's interesting. I wonder what happened. That just someone said that they were going to come in and, well, that just put the kibosh on that until I figure out what happened. But I've at least got, let me go in here. And I've got to come down to okay. Now, one of the things that she sent was a form that says notice and warning to utility companies. Notice and warning to all utility companies for embezzlement, theft by deception, and extortion. And I don't know. This apparently is a way to get out of paying your utility bill. It is saying that all utility companies are now put on notice that all debts to be charged off pursuant to the stipulated and incorporated herein acts et al. And it says facts assembled and presented by without prejudice as man name here authorized representative. All natural rights expressly reserved, and it gives a whole bunch of numbers. This is a sovereign citizen document. See, sovereign citizens like to use stuff and not pay for it. They seem to think that utilities are free, that, you know, we spend millions of dollars and we're entitled to all this stuff for free. And we have another one of these people that has decided that they want to copyright their name. Okay, now Lurid has come in, so let's put Lurid on the air. Okay, Lurid, you're on the air.
Overdose? Are you out of your freaking mind?
Uh-oh.
Who the hell do you think you are? Who the hell do you think you are?
What the hell is that? I think I've been trolled, guys.
Say it to my face!
This is interesting.
Say it to my face!
This is more than likely a soundboard call. I had this happen to me years ago.
Do the f***ing pants off you, Coco! You're gone, and I'm gonna start striking every one of your videos now that has my content.
This is Lurid. So this is a troll. Back when I
think you are.
Back when I was on Pal Talk, this is what used to happen. Now, if you remember, Tim Holmsess likes to put up things on Pal Talk, and it was exactly like this. Hello, Levi. Welcome to the show. Hello. I guess we're having technical difficulties here. Lurid went the way of the stuff. I guess that's their new, well, Levi's left. I guess, you know, this is exactly what used to happen with Pal Talk. And what it was that you just heard, this is what's known as a soundboard call. That's probably an actress. They take and they file all different kinds of these things, and they record this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put one on, and as you'll hear, I blew my stack. But this is all these people are capable of doing, is making this crap. Now, the person that made the soundboard calls is known as Monoxide MMAC. And Monoxide was convicted of linking child pornography, animated child pornography, on Leonard Padilla's chat that he was having about Kelly Anthony. And Monoxide is also alleged to have taken part in the creation of the fake chats, along with Pat Doe. Okay. Darn it. Okay. Okay, now. Do-do-do-do. Well, YouTube may have finally taken the account down. I can't find the video at the moment. Oh, here we go. He's been on here for 12 years and he's only got 6 subscribers. All right, let me. Okay, now I've got to. What I'm going to do is. Why can't. Well, this is interesting. I've got it, for whatever reason, it just obliterated my whole screen. I can't see behind it. Huh. Well, this is nice. Okay, everybody bear with me. For some reason, I can't. Well, I got this thing. It's covering my entire monitor, and I can't find. Well, I may have to do it this way. If this knocks me off there, I'll be back. All right, we had a little technical difficulty there. I see some people came in. Good evening, Chad. Good evening, Tom. Yeah, they've been busy doing their thing. And see, we had a troll come in here, and the troll made a soundboard call. So, that's over and done with. I'm not even going to bother with it. I mean, but whoever. Okay, Paige, can you hear me? And Paige went away. All right. Well, interesting. See, this was part of what I was going to do tonight is talk to some of these people. And I guess it's not going to happen, at least not right away. Well, Levi, probably not. Now, I don't know if you remember Monoxide MMAC and how he used to do his little telephone calls to me and Leonard Padilla and other people using, like I think there was the Judge Judy call and a couple other people. And this latest troll that came in wanted to do that. Okay, let me see if I can get Paige on here. Okay, Paige, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay.
It kept booting me. It kept booting me, so I was like, I'll just restart YouTube.
Yeah, the software is acting up.
Oh, I didn't know if it was my end, but I missed that whole lady that just called. I only heard the very beginning of it, and then it booted me out.
Okay, well, what that is, that's what's known as a soundboard call. It's a recording. And I had someone that used to do that back in the day. His name was Monoxide, and he's part of the creator of the chat that Tim Hunsless likes to use against me. And over on YouTube someplace, if you were to type in Monoxide space MMAC, the videos are there. And they're illegal, by the way. It's it's a form of cyber stalking, and they're also using recorded telephone calls, and that's legal or not legal. But anyway, I
didn't know what was going on. I was like, what in the heck is this?
Well, they're trying to disrupt the chat, and they're coming in here and trolling. But
no, like I said, I missed it because it like blocked me out. So then I was like, dang it.
You aren't missing much, and it'll be on the recorded version. So you'll get, if you play it back.
Yes, that's right. I can see it later.
Yeah. So now, I was told you wanted to tell your experience, as it were, with David Straight and some of these other people. So I'm going to let you go right ahead.
Yes. So with David Straight, he says, and this is from somebody that I know that was actually like working really close with him. And then I had talked to this mom because she was in a CPS case and had talked her out of it. But at the time, she didn't know any better. She had never been in any legal problems or anything like that. So like even the stuff, say the state sent her that she would read, it was like a bunch of legalese, and she didn't understand.
Whoops, I may have kicked you off.
Oh.
Yeah, I tried to do something and I knocked you off, but you're back.
So she doesn't, she like when the state would send her stuff, there was stuff she didn't understand because of the legal terminology. So when she got in contact with them to help with her CPS case, the stuff they were giving her, she didn't really understand the paperwork and stuff. But at the same time, they also didn't say like, oh, we're sovereign citizens, or you know what I mean, like we're trying to like be above the law or whatever. And she didn't understand most of it, but she, you know what I mean, she didn't understand a lot of legal stuff because she had never been in any kind of legal situations, which thankfully I got a hold of her before that got too bad. But he had told her that he had lost his kids actually in the early 80s to CPS. Like 80 or 81, something, I don't know, about a fire or something like that. One of the kids setting a fire or something to that extent and CPS took his kids. And that's basically what he says started him, in this whatever, and in this endeavor. Now, of course, he did say that he didn't hand in his paperworks his paperworks or whatever that he does now to other parents. He didn't file those in his kid's CPS case, but that's why it's called the never perfect affidavit, because he just updates it, quote unquote, as time changes, because has changed since the 80s. And that's why it's called the never perfect. And so he was trying to tell her the reason that it made me think of this, because I had actually totally forgotten about this. You had mentioned about what is the one in Colorado? Cynthia
Absud.
About her needing that passport.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this mom had the link sent to her, and it was like encrypted, and it's about some website selling like moonshine rigs, basically. And David had said to her right after that something along the lines of, you need to click on that and find it, or something like that. He said something really goofy. He was like, you don't need to get a hold of anybody. You just need to read and follow directions to get the passport, and then sent the link, which is like coppermoonshinestills.com. And if you click on it, it looks just like somebody that's selling moonshine rigs. But if you go down far enough on the left-hand side, on the little left-hand side where you can click the different links, there's one that says something about law. They have it hidden on this moonshine website to get these passports.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that. That material was sent to me by someone.
Yes. And I totally forgot about it until you mentioned something about Cynthia saying something about whatever the passport is called. I forgot what it's called. It's
diplomatic
ridiculous.
passport.
Diplomatic passport. And then I remembered that I actually had the link to the diplomatic passport because they had it hidden, which I'm assuming is to get past legalities. I'm not sure.
Well, a diplomatic passport is given to people that either are diplomats or work for embassies, either United States Embassy or other embassies, and they are exempt from a lot of laws. Now, people like us, ordinary citizens, cannot get a diplomatic passport. You have to be either a member of the State Department, an agent of some kind, or in the diplomatic corps of another country that has an embassy here. So that's completely false. And if they were trying to get this from an actual person who was in some way involved with the State Department, that person would be subject to prosecution, because that is an extremely high felony that can get you 20 to 25 years in prison. You cannot give those things out like candy at Christmas.
If you go to that site, you can see that it's not necessarily just, I mean, have you scrolled that website where the legal stuff is? It's not even just about that. It's also about getting the fake birth certificates.
Yeah, I was sent all kinds of forms.
On that website, though, they have the Copper Stills moonshine or whatever it is, where they have it hidden. I had found the link because the mom I was dealing, that I got in contact with, said that was sent her from David Strait, and was told to her that all she has to do is get the passport, but she couldn't understand how she would get a passport from like somebody selling moonshine rigs, which is when I went on the site and started digging around. And then down towards the bottom, it says, the thing about legal, whatever. And if you click on it, then it takes you to this whole nother page about the passport, and then like the fake birth certificate. And I was like, these creeps are sneaky. Like, they're very sneaky. It's on like a legitimate website, and they have it hidden down in there.
Yeah, it's way down at the bottom.
Yeah, they're very sneaky.
And right now what I'm doing, just bear with me for a minute. You can keep talking while I do this.
Well, and then I was going to say how I know David basically was the ringleader behind the other ones getting involved with everything else, is because David was the one that called Kirk and was like, do you want to come help me on this case, which was Timothy's? And so what happened was they had got there and they were doing some, law, seminar or whatever in Minnesota, right? Before
Uh-huh.
they had to go to Wisconsin. And they had got there, they had done the seminar, and they left and they were supposed to come back. But David didn't come back because his grandkids were taken. And that was in 2019. And nobody knows that.
Yeah, what I did is I've got the screenshot that was sent to me, and it says right there in the middle, beat the law, diplomatic immunity, state citizen passport. And in that URL, if you go to it, all these forms come up, and it's basically all sovereign citizen documentation. It's worthless. It'll get you in more trouble than it's worth if you use any of it. And she kept sending me link after link after link, and there's a whole
And then at the
bunch of this
bottom, he
stuff.
literally has a picture with a quote from Hitler, like he's somebody to, I guess, follow. I'm not sure. It was very strange. Like if you click the beat the law link, and after you get past all the fake passport and fake immunity and then the little fake birth certificate stuff, there's like, he has like pictures with quotes, and there's literally a picture with Hitler and a quote from Hitler. Like that he was just some superior being of genius.
Yeah, it's interesting how these
And I can't
people.
figure it out because they run around, call everybody else that does anything they don't agree with a communist, but they like are hailing Hitler. I'm not sure.
Well, the Nazis don't like communists. They
Well,
they
they're
are
the
not.
closest thing.
Yeah, fascism is a little bit different. It's basically a dictatorship. There's not, it's takes a while to explain it, but it's a little bit different than communism, which stands for people's commune. Supposed to be a system where everybody shared co-equally. They didn't believe in a lot of things that we do in capitalism and a free market economy. And so, communism and Nazism are equally bad. Neither one of them are any good. So,
Right.
by calling somebody a communist, you're basically mislabeling people, because they call anybody that disagrees with them a communist. Doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah, literally it doesn't.
But the thing of it is they charge a god awful lot of money for these documents. Now there's another individual by the name of Gonzalez that was mentioned.
Derek. Yes,
Yeah.
I know firsthand that a mom paid him $600, $600 and some dollars just for some paperwork supposedly to put into child support court to get the child support void, basically, which made her look like a loon, might I add.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, thankfully with this mom, I had caught her, right after she had done that and paid him how much ever money. Then, she had filed, I want to say, a couple things from David Strait in her case, but I had got in there before it got way too far. Of course, she still had to do a psychological evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
But she did end up getting, because I caught her soon enough, I think, before it like completely took hold to where she was going to like even the courts and saying stuff, like the other parents, like, you don't have any jurisdiction over me and I don't want an attorney. So it didn't get that far. And so she actually got custody back. But I think it's only because we were able to intervene before it went way too far.
No, that was good. But see, that's the problem. These people
But yeah, I was gonna say, but with this mom, the thing of it is she was willingly asking questions because she had seen the other side of like us saying like these people are fraud, scammer, liars. And like most of them will just jump on their side and say you're a liar or whatever, but she had actually came asking questions and like was listening for answers, and I wasn't like, like attacking her, like you're a dummy for even following, and stuff like that. I just explained to her like, well, tell me how much this makes sense. Well, ask them this and see what their answer is. And then she started putting it together herself that obviously there was a lot of stuff not making sense. Like David being a Navy SEAL and he's the one that supposedly is the one directly in contact with Trump. That's why Timothy says he's one man away from Trump.
Yeah. Well, this is.
And so finally she kind of realized like, okay, maybe, and she was actually willing to like ask questions and like not just completely, most of these other parents just go for it. Like David had told her to kidnap her kids. Mind you, she had more than one child. They were separated and she was having supervised visits at the time, but separate because the kids were separate. And she had asked him, she said, well, so basically I have to pick which one's more important because I couldn't kidnap them both, right? And I can only get one because we have supervised visits. So I'd have to pick a favorite and kidnap that one and run. And then she's like, and then what good would it do for me to kidnap one of them? Then how am I going to fight for my kids from jail for kidnapping? And he said, you can't go to jail for kidnapping your own kids. That's what he told her.
Yeah, well,
which is why some of these other parents are running out doing it, like Neely and Cynthia trying to go do it because they're literally telling these people, how are you going to get in trouble for kidnapping your own kids?
Yeah, that's what Randy and Tim say all the time is, kidnap.
Yeah, that's what David directly told this mom. Just go take your kids from visit. And she was like, well, what good was it going to be? How am I going to fight for my kids from jail? And he's like, you can't go to jail for kidnapping your own kids. And I was like, yes, you can. Especially from a CPS visit. Yeah, you can. You definitely can.
Yeah. And, people just don't realize that. And these people are very good at convincing them that you can kidnap your own kids. And then they start down this slippery slope. And now we have both Neely Blanchard and Cynthia Absug on trial. And one is not going to see the light of day, and the other probably is not going to see her children except on jail visits, or at least not until they're adults, because she is going to lose custody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not just that. I mean, I think she'll probably, unless they give her some heck of a plea deal because she didn't actually follow through because her daughter told on her and she was busted before it could take place. But that doesn't mean it wasn't going to take place. Her daughter just was scared and told on her. You know what I mean? I think she would. I honestly think they would have went and done it, except for her daughter.
Yeah. Well, she was caught less than 100 miles from Canada. So I think she had got wind that she was in trouble, and she figured if she got into Canada that she wouldn't be extradited back to the United States, which is wrong.
Well, and she was staying. I know that she was in Montana too, staying with that James White from Network. What is it? Liberty News Network or whatever.
Northwest Liberty News. They did a 3-part interview with the companion of her that drove her around.
That's why he was there so fast to do that interview that day she was arrested, because they were staying with him.
Yeah. Yeah, they were basically touring the whole country.
I think somehow he's honestly part of all this with this group of the people, like, like the normal group that we know of, say like Kirk, David, Timothy, Randy. I think James with the Northwest Liberty News is in on this, and I think he uses his show for like a way for quote unquote CPS parents like to get in touch with him, and then that's how they get their victims.
Yeah, at a minimum, he supports the effort that straightens these up.
I mean, you know what I mean? And I do think they get a lot of their followers or like victims or whatever you want to call them from him.
Oh, that's true. They do. from him and people like him
Yeah, like when
that do
Field was
these
doing his
things.
CPS show or whatever on Facebook, and they
That's
were getting them from him too.
Yeah, that's why Field McConnell was approached and brought into this mess. And so
Well, yeah,
Monday,
and then you brought up Neely and Cynthia and how one's not going to see the light of day, and then the other one is probably, well, she's never going to see her kids again. But the other part of that is then there's Field too, and like he got drug into this, which I'm not saying he's not wrong, because obviously he is, but you know what I
Mhm.
mean? He got drug into all this too, and look where he is.
Yeah, if he had stayed away from this group, he probably would have been better off, especially staying away from Tim Holmseth and Randy. That was the biggest
Right.
mistake he ever made in his life, is getting involved with those two.
Well, and that's basically, I guess, why David didn't end up going, to the trial that Timothy didn't go to, that Kirk was gonna be his counsel or whatever.
Hmm.
The reason David wasn't there, because he was supposed to be there. He was the one supposed to be helping Timothy, not Kirk. Well, Kirk and from David, but David brought Kirk. But the reason he wasn't is because his grandkids got taken, so he had to go back to wherever his kid lived and help with that. Which I know, as of a few weeks after the kids getting taken, that they didn't magically get those kids back, his grandkids.
Hmm.
Which is kind of crazy, considering he can just call Trump, or show up at the fucking Rose Garden
Yeah,
and have a little conversation.
that would have been,
Because that was
these
in
people that have.
2019, so Trump was still definitely the president. So
Mhm.
supposedly, if you're in contact with him and you're all friendly, where you'd pop up at the Rose Garden and your grandkids were taken, you would think, you being friends with the president of the United States, that could be reversed very quickly.
Yeah, well, that's what these people don't understand, that believe in Randy and Timmy and all this, is, they say they have all these connections with the military, the Pentagon, and Trump, yet one is living out of a car with all his personal belongings in it, and the other, we don't know what the hell she's doing other than putting all this weird stuff on the internet and saying the TikTok, the time is coming and the storm and is all that. And this has been going on for 3 years.
Right.
And
I haven't seen the storm
absolutely
yet, unless they mean
nothing.
the hurricane. I don't know.
Yeah, there is absolutely nothing going on. And it's, they're listening to a pig farmer that created Q to begin with. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, and then the funny thing about that is, I feel like a lot of I even feel like, honestly, with Timothy and how he went like all gung ho with his like reporting and all these crazy stories, I think Q took a lot of their pointers or stories from him and swapped them into bigger stuff also.
Well, they probably did. You see, the thing of it is just like Anonymous, there are people out there that basically put on the Q jacket and pretend either to be Q himself or part of the chain of command, so to speak. And, they're just taking advantage of this thing and doing copycat stuff. And because the HBO documentary that was done on QAnon, it was brought out that the guy has given up doing it. 8chan no longer emphasizes him. If he, backs him or whatever, and Q and the original QAnon has all but disappeared. But what they've done is copycats have come out and have taken over, and that's what's keeping it going.
And then, like I said, and then we have people like Timothy, who are obviously mentally depraved, who then start coming up and twisting even, minor quote unquote, what do they call the Q? What do they call them? Like Q hints or whatever, and like spinning them into, that means kids are
They're
being
called
sodomized and their eyes
they're
are
Q
black now
drops.
because of it. It's like, what? Who even thinks like that unless you're completely mentally?
Yeah, they call that stuff Q drops.
Well, and he'll take a Q drop and then turn it into like, oh, that means kids are being sodomized and now they have panda eyes. It's like, who even thinks about stuff like that?
Timmy does.
And I know, that's what I mean. Like, how mentally disturbed does one have to be?
I debunk that, because that is
That's a little
illness.
kid that has like neuroblastoma.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And, so they're exploiting these children.
But they're so against exploiting children.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they only want to be the ones doing the exploiting. They don't want anyone
Because
else doing it.
that little kid's family had came out and was like, this is just like gross. Like the baby had neuroblastoma and had like surgery or something of the sort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
well, the panda eyes it's actually called raccoon eyes, and it's a side effect of the illness. And I put up the paper, and it went into a great detail as to why that is, why that feature shows up, and it has to do with blood circulation and this what you mentioned before, and it's it goes away.
well, and like I said, people listening to them, just the only thing I can ask is like, but it's even hard to ask them that because obviously they have to have some kind of issues also, especially with this whole side of things, like because you're listening to somebody that keeps coming out with stories, whether it was the first one, well, the first one that I know of, and this could be not even his first one, but the one about Haley and
Mm-hmm.
somebody sending him and he has a picture of her, privates like ripped and raped or whatever he said about, the little girl in Florida.
That was actually hi Paige or hi Levi. That was actually John Benet Ramsey. Somehow he got a hold of a autopsy picture that was supposedly of her and had it all over.
Either way, like that is you're literally holding on to like what is that? What is dead people necrophilia? Child porn?
Necrophilia. It's necrophilia. And I don't know specifically about what they would call the porn part of it, but that
But even if he did get an autopsy picture, he literally only got it to examine her privates. Like that to me is so disgusting.
yeah.
Well,
But
did
anyway,
you hear about Randy posting CP on Twitter?
yeah.
That's what I mean. And like people listen to these people, and it's like when I hear Timothy's like, his quote unquote journalism or whatever he wants to call it, his stories, all I think about is like what kind of a sick minded individual would think up this kind of stuff.
Well, they went into detail on it, and Randy's over on Twitter popping her pussy to child porn. I'm like, what the hell? These people are crazy. They're nuts.
And people listen to them. Like, do you not honestly sit there and think like this person is mentally freaking disturbed that all they talk about is children's private parts and like children being raped? Like to me, like if that's literally all you think about 24/7 and all you talk about 24, like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, I mean these
her
people.
tweet was reported to law enforcement too.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter took
like
it
I'm not
down.
like I'm not saying like it's not an issue. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, oh my God, it does happen, right? Kids do get, whatever. Yeah, that's sad. I'm not going to sit there 24/7 and not only just talk about it, but like literally make up even more absurd, disgusting stories than what the truth really is. Because the truth is already disgusting enough. It happened.
Yeah. Well, the problem with these people is they are accusing innocent people of being involved in this stuff. I've been accused of it. Levi's been accused of it. And at the top of the pyramid, of course, is Kim Bacasio. And Kim has been on a mission for 12 years to destroy all of us. And it's simply because he was rejected by Kim when he wanted to join in on the investigation of the Cummings case. And
what credentials does he have?
He won a fluff piece award at a regional newspaper that subsequently fired him. And so he's an award-winning journalist because of this fluff piece.
But
And
well, okay, that's fine. But what credentials does he have to like investigate a person or a situation or a disappearance?
none.
Okay, well then be mad, I guess. But I don't. Why would an actual attorney, lawyer? Oh yeah, sure. Join the investigation. Investigate them all. Like, why would a lawyer, a real one, put their credentials on the line for somebody, for one, they don't even know, for two, somebody that doesn't even have credentials to do what the hell they're asking to do?
Hmm. Well, he came in and said something about he could tell by eye movements or something that Misty Crosland was lying. And everybody knew she was lying because she failed all these lie detector tests. And she probably has the key to what happened to Haley. And it's just getting her to talk that's the problem. But, Holmeseth comes in there
Do you
and
know how many people Timothy has accused of abducting Haley?
I lost
Like, you
count.
could fill a book with all the people that he's accused.
Didn't you guys abduct her?
Yeah, he accused me and Alex.
And me.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you all have abducted her. Shut up.
I don't
Yeah,
want no
there's
5-year-old.
about 60
Look, it's
people that
only
have
a matter
abducted
of
her.
time before my name is in there, and I'm a Satan
Oh,
worshiping,
it'll be
child
in there within the
sacrificing
hour.
kidnapper.
Yeah, there'll be a video up about you within 48 hours because
I know one thing that Kirk was telling the person Kirk was telling the people I know, like, when they asked him like a couple weeks after David Straight's grandkids got taken, and this was in 2019. No, they haven't got him. No, he hasn't got him back yet. And that was like a couple, like 2-3 weeks later after they got taken. But don't put it out there. He doesn't want it out there. You know what I mean?
Paige,
And
did he
so,
have custody of his grandkids?
no, they were taken from his kid,
Okay.
which is why he didn't end up at Timothy's trial in August of 19,
So they were taken from David Straight's son
or daughter.
or daughter,
Yep.
and they were not given to him, which means that CPS probably found out what a nutcase he was and said, "We're not giving it to this POS."
No, and Kirk was like, "Oh no, not yet. No, he hasn't got him back." But something about like David was stressing he didn't want it out to the public that his grandkids were taken. So I know me saying that's going to set a few people off. But yeah, they were taken in 2019. Shout out David Straight's grandchildren.
Woo woo.
Oh boy,
Well, and then I was like, well, why wouldn't he want it out there? Because all he's going to do is file his magical paperwork and get him right back, right? You think that he would, if that's the case, he would use that right there. He knows exactly how to file them. They're his paperworks. They're going to get his stuff back, and boom, you know what I mean? That's just going to be, it's going to be perfect. And well, no, he doesn't want it out there yet. I was like, and then he still hasn't even came out there to this day. So I'm wondering if they even ever got the kids back. Because even if it wouldn't have been because his paperwork and the kids would have came home to his child after they came home, then he would have put it out there like, oh, my grandkids got taken and we got them back, and made it seem like they got them right back. But I know it was in 2019, which makes me wonder, did they even get him back still to this day? Because he has still yet to, use that as see, look, my grandkids got taken and I got them back. But all I had to wonder was, you're friends with Trump. He's the president of the United States. Your grandkids get taken. I mean, you know how easy that is to fix? You just call your friend. He's the president of the whole United States. But that didn't happen.
Well,
of
they
course
need
not.
to call Trump to help them out of the snafu that they're going to be in shortly, and give us a week or two, and Levi and I will have exclusive information about what's going down. But that's all I wanted to say. You guys can continue talking. I just wanted to pop in and give that little tidbit for everyone.
Yeah,
Yay.
thanks, Alex.
Yeah, so FAFO, we're getting to the FO part. It'll be fun for us, not so much for them.
Fun for us. Wait, is this the stuff you were messaging me about?
Yippers.
Oh boy, this is going to be so much fun.
It is.
Oh,
Yep.
they're going to hate
Okay.
you devil worshipping child sacrificer.
I know. I'll be back. I got to go check my spreadsheets.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
By seeing
Yeah.
it, Satanist.
They're gonna love that, huh?
Yeah, breaking
Yeah.
news. Yeah, they are in for a terrible time because, and this latest thing of Tim Holmseth claiming that he contacted law enforcement. I spent all day Friday talking to the county sheriff where he was supposedly had sent information, which is the wrong place to send it to begin with. He should have sent it to the Texas Department of Public Safety. But, and I told the sheriff what he's doing and what he's claiming, and the sheriff says, well, if we see him taking pictures in front of our city limits, we're going to have a nice little chat with this guy. And he may wind up getting 3 squares in a cot because they're not too happy with him. And you don't mess with Texas law enforcement.
Do they know he has a warrant?
Yes.
Oh, good.
He has 2 of them.
Even better.
Yeah, Florida has one as well.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh, he's almost at the 3 strikes you're a felon. Or is he there already?
He will
If
be
he's
more than likely.
convicted, he'll be on his way there.
Oh boy, that
If
would
they
be
can
so
ever
fun
get
for
him.
him.
If they get him in Minnesota, yeah.
Yeah, because
Oh.
see, he skipped out on the second of 4 scheduled trials, and he was convicted on the first one. So that's 1 strike already right there. And so if he gets arrested, that's 2 strikes, and if he gets charged on the trial, that's 3 strikes. So he basically.
Mert, did you see where Timothy was screwing around in my neck of the woods?
Yep. Yeah, I saw the picture of the
You
sign.
better hope I never ever see him out in public, because I would walk up to him and tell him that I think he's a trashy, perverted piece of shit.
Yeah, he'd figure out how fast he can run. That's for sure. Because
I might travel to like wherever for a court case. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'll be there tweeting from the courtroom like I'm going to be Monday.
We can all just like pop. I know Alex better be coming. We're just gonna have like we're gonna have like our internet bully gang meetup.
The wolf pack.
The alphas
Mhm.
coming out in full force on them.
He would
But,
shit
yeah,
himself.
And then
I mean,
David, when
would
he
be
lost
so
his
scared.
kids in when David lost his kids in the 80 or 81, he had said he got them right back because something about a babysitter was watching them and one of them like caught a fire or something, which makes sense because if they're with the babysitter after they get done investigating, if you weren't there and you were at work or something like that, they'll give them back. And let's be honest, CPS wasn't like it is now in the 80s. So he makes it seem like, they took my kids in like 80 or 81, whatever it was, and I got them right back. Well, okay, for one, because if a babysitter was watching them when like they caught a fire or whatever, and you were at work or something, like you wouldn't be at fault. The babysitter would be. And then for 2, the 80s CPS, I don't think was anything. I didn't even know they took kids in the 80s, honestly. They didn't take us in the 90s, which is, a miracle in itself then.
Yeah,
Well,
I
David
think they've
Strait
always had
has
the power.
admitted that not only was his kids taken away, but his grandchildren were taken away from his kids. Anybody notice a pattern?
Uh-huh.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Now we know what motivates him to do what the hell he does, because he has had his children removed by CPS.
Yeah, and that's supposedly the reason, why his little document or whatever he has people fill out and put into their court case is called the Never Perfect, right? Because when the CPS and laws change, he has to change his documents, to keep up with the times, essentially. So it's never perfect because when the laws change, they have to change their paperwork or, some bullshit to that extent is his reasoning.
I wonder what motivated Randy Erickson to get involved in all of this.
Oh, well, here, let me tell you something, okay? When David when he called Kirk and was like, hey, you want to go help me on this, right? Talking about Timothy. Okay, Timothy's case. And they took their little road trip together. Somebody I know was on the phone actually with them. And they had said, like, David Straight had said, this judge got a hold of me and we're going to stop there first because she has all this information that she's going to give us for the Timothy case, right? And so what happened was my friend that was on the phone I didn't even know back then who Randy was because they hadn't ran into Timothy yet. And that's when I ran into you guys, right? I just knew the other side of people like Kirk, Chris, David, Jose, and them. And so then I remember my friend had told me, like, well, they said they're going to some judge and the judge has all this information, to give them on the Timothy case that they're going to help on, blah, blah, blah. And then when they ran into Timothy, and then once I ran into you guys and figured out who Randy was and like a nut bucket, then it came back to me. That was the quote unquote judge's house that David Straight and Kirk went to get the quote unquote information to help in the Timothy case. And I was like, she's not a freaking judge.
We don't even know if the woman graduated high school.
Dude, like judge of the nuts or what? Like, I'm not sure. Like, he was not a Navy SEAL. You know what? Actually, I'm not even gonna lie. I found his David Straight's brother's Facebook page, or I'm thinking it's his brother. And it looks like his brother was in like the Navy or the Air Force or something. And I wonder if he steals his stories from him.
Oh, like catfishing.
Yes, like catfishing, except your employment. Because not only that, because David not only said, right, that he was a Navy SEAL, then he says, like, whatever the town or wherever he's from, right, that he lived in, he was a sheriff. He says that too.
He couldn't pass this psych exam to be a sheriff.
No, he wasn't a sheriff because that's what, when his kids were quote unquote taken, right? Oh yeah, because then he just got in touch with his, buddies in the sheriff's department, right? And he got his kids right back. And I was thinking, like, for one, CPS in 1980 was not like it is now, like, for one. So that wouldn't even, I don't think, be a big accomplishment. Crackheads were getting their kids back in the 80s, let's be honest. You know what I mean? Like, not
they
being
get them back now. I mean, what are you talking about?
Well, yeah, but I'm sure it was even worse in the 80s. Yeah. They probably could have just said, I've been free from drugs. And they probably was like, okay, seems legit in the 80s. And so, yeah, I was like, oh. And then he said and his sheriff friends, you know what I mean? He called them and got his kids like right back, like within, less than a week. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, he says that like he did something to get them back. For one, if his story is true that he had a babysitter there watching the kids, he was at work and one of them set a fire. Well, the baby, you did technically more than any other parents in the 80s, which is why I don't think I believe the story, because I know in the 90s we got left alone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We babysat our damn selves. Okay, my parents wasn't paying nobody to watch us. Was he like the only parent in the 80s that got babysitters? I don't know. It's beyond me. But maybe he does. You know what I mean? Maybe he did have, I don't know. But he said his sheriff friends, right? Because he was a sheriff. So his sheriff friends, he called them and, they got that all straight away or whatever. So he says that it was a sheriff after he was a Navy SEAL. So there's that. He's done it all. He wears a lot of hats, that guy.
Yeah, these people are like playing like fantasy games, like Timothy.
And now he's like the man.
Pentagon and Randy being a judge.
Well, and now he's like the man, right? He is the one man between Timothy and Trump.
Oh, we've known that for ages.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They have all these hats. Literally hats for days.
And Randy,
I need to fluff my employment history. Wonder if they can help. I was a dragon slayer in Fantasyland, and I was also a pixie fairy. Well, call me Pinkerbell.
I really think that Randy Erickson is legit insane, because somebody on our Facebook page had posted a while back. They said, Randy, are you in town? I miss you. Let's have lunch. And Randy responded, I'm not in town. I'm away. The task force is keeping me busy. Overworked with the task force. And I'm like, God. Task force? Like, what? Yeah. I'm like, I think she legit believes that she's working for a legit task force. That's how nuts she is.
They
When
people
she
like
called
that convince themselves of that. It's a phobia that they'll get immersed so much in their fantasy they wind up believing it. And Tim Homeseth is the same way. They have
remember when
convinced
she
themselves.
called the FBI and said that she was with JSOC?
Hmm.
Like, really, bitch? Like, you're not with anyone. You're with the perv that you're having an affair with. That's who you're with.
And then didn't she say that she was like, or what did she say she is now that drove me wild? And Timothy is her journalist, her specific journalist. Like she's
Yeah, my
a real
journalist.
estate journalist. I've never heard of such a thing, but I mean that's fine.
She's not even a real estate agent. She does title searches.
Yeah, isn't that what she recently said she was though, doing something real estate, and Timothy is like the journalist?
Well, she bought his blog and all his assets, all his writings and everything. She owns TimothyCharlesHomestead.com, and she owns every
Wow, what
piece
a
of paper
pile of junk to buy. You know what I mean?
and the books.
I wonder how much she paid him.
Who knows? No
Well, she
income
probably
tax
paid him
report.
in something else we can't talk about.
Hmm.
That was the payment.
Well, and then I wonder who out of all the lunatics, like I wonder if it was David Straight, since he's the one that says like he talks to Trump. Like, I don't know if he's the one that said like, oh, Congress made this task force. I want you guys to join me.
Well, it's
But
probably something like Amway, where you got a pyramid, and they are the downlines, and they get, it's a commission thing where they get a piece of the action.
like a pyramid scheme, like what is it called? What did multi level marketing?
MLMs,
multi-level
Yes,
marketing.
yes, that
And
would
so
be what
that's what we're winding up with here, is it's a literal chain of command, and this is basically falls under RICO.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, John. This is getting into racketeering.
Is it, Mert, is this MF Timmy night? Or
Well, it's David Straight, actually, but everybody, it all ties
okay.
together, because
Okay.
there was someone besides Paige that gave me a detailed account of how all this came together. And, I learned a lot from it. And it just goes right down through with it goes down through with a timeline of how David Straight got started and how everybody was brought into this. And there are names that I never even heard of that I'm learning about that are part of this mess.
Do you remember the Bundy case or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah.
Yep. That's where
tell me why
a lot
the
of this
mom,
originated.
the mom that I'm telling you about that I finally got, like, well, I didn't finally, when she started asking up questions, I was like, okay, well, she really wants to like figure out who's telling the truth or whatever. And you know what I mean? I talked some sense into her and helped her, and she, like I said, she ended up getting her kid back, but I think it's because I was able to intervene quickly. And it was more so her willing to listen, not like just be like, you're a liar, you're a troll liar. You know how they have all their little fans say? Well, the other part of that is she had went to some seminar, right? Before, I think this was before the one in Minnesota. And they're like, Kirk and them were like, oh, you should go to this seminar, da 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 da. Well, it was one that they were having with David Jose, I think, or whatever, in Arizona at that church or whatever. She went, and do you know who freaking David and them like put her in contact with, and who she stayed at their house? Like somebody from the Bundy camp.
Outstanding.
that were arrested with that whole ordeal, like the standoff. And like, of course, she had no clue at the time until, like obviously, yeah, in Arizona.
Yeah, but the Bundy thing was the genesis for a lot of these nuts. It was like a magnet, and they all came out of the woodwork.
Oh yeah, I mean literally.
Levi,
well, and then QAnon sent it to a whole nother level.
Oh yeah, true. That Levi, did you say Timmy was in your neck of the woods? Because he was in my neck of the woods just recently too.
Yeah, he was in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Yeah, and he was in Rogersville, that little bastard. And I spoke with the Hawkins County sheriff, who were looking cars, and him and his so are TBI, which is
Yeah, I'm
I was
wondering if he went down there and met with Don Wells, which is Summer Wells' father. And
my
Don
God.
Wells is a nutcase too.
Oh yeah,
So,
he's a QAnon.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that would be, a match. Timothy and Don Wells.
yeah.
I can't wait till him and her mom get arrested because they did it.
Well, yeah, they
Yeah.
did.
I actually drove down there because it's really not that far from here. Looking, I would have loved to run across them somewhere around
I
there.
mean, because
I
you
don't
know what I
think
mean with that whole case is like
drives up to
none
these
of your
places.
they have like a whole farm of dogs. None of them bark. Somebody came onto your property to steal your kid. No dog bark.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
Paige, did you
that
see
doesn't
what they were
happen.
doing recently?
Mm-mm.
So Candace, Summer's mom, called
The ex stripper. I know. Yeah, imagine that.
well, she also called up someone and was crying, like hysterically crying, saying that Don had been arrested for a past warrant and was being extradited out of the state. And she was like hysterically in tears. And then later said, "Oh, me and Don were joking. We were
That's
pranking
hilarious.
everyone." So these people
Yeah.
are pranking people while their daughter's missing.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like
Was
right after she went missing on
nope,
his Facebook, he was talking about
nope.
Trump and Jesus.
Yeah.
Like your daughter just went missing. Is Trump or Jesus, even for that matter, that important right now?
Yeah, they don't. Trump probably doesn't even know your daughter's name. Like, come on.
Yeah,
My
I'm
God, I
sure.
was like, this has got to be a joke. It was literally within the first week I found his Facebook and was like, what in the hell? And then people were commenting like that, like lived in the area, I guess, or like used to know like them, and like I could not believe it because if you look at Candace, it's like, look, she used to be a stripper.
Oh,
Is that the cat?
really?
Is that the cat torturer? That's the
The
cat torturer, isn't it?
the mom,
No, you're talking about Candace was the stripper, Summer's
yeah,
mom.
she's the ex stripper.
What? Where? I'd like to know what
XXX.
club.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
Summerwell's mom used to be a stripper. Like, there's people in the area that were like,
Oh,
Oh, God.
like, yes. I was like, what? They even said like her name and everything.
I wonder what her name was.
I forgot, but I have the screenshots. I'll send them to you.
she's got bruises all over her from getting hit by 10-foot poles.
I was just like, what? I was like, she used to be a stripper because I'm looking at her and I'm like, did she have like, I don't know, did she look way different then? I don't know.
Well, some people are
Not like
desperate.
not being any.
Yeah, they'll look at anything, I guess. Jeez.
Group. And Timmy is so jealous of you, Mert. I mean, he's so bad because you're going down. You're going to be live in front of the courthouse, and they can't even step foot in Florida without Timmy wetting his pants because there's a warrant out for him. So they make their little videos.
Well, you know what's so funny about that? Yeah, but I'm a small potatoes here. I mean, Levi's the star of the show. He's got a shitload more of experience than I do. He's been on national television and on and on and on, which is why Timmy is mad at him. But I am no big deal. So it astonishes me that she even pays attention to me or that he does. I mean, 23 people. I mean, she said, "Oh my God, you only get 20 people in there at a time." Made a big deal about that. It's not about the numbers.
And
it's
she's
about
probably
the
like
truth.
4 of them. Who is she kidding?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, if Randy went live, only 3 people would tune in.
Yeah, within 5 hours, we'll have a video up about the alleged child serial murder or whatever it is she keeps calling me. I mean, and they quit calling me Filthy Mert for the time being.
I heard a little bird told me there's some really tough times in for those two coming up, which can't get here soon enough. Ain't that
Yeah.
soon enough?
I know. I
Yep.
can't wait until until they actually get handcuffed and arrested.
Yeah.
Well, what's
And
funny
we'll-
is Timothy always says, "Nobody's ever sued me. Nobody." Well, what are they going to get when they sue you, Timothy?
Are they
You
going
don't
to get your
own
car
anything.
Are they going to get your car with tarped up windows?
that shitbox Nissan.
Yeah, that like, and then what? And then what if they get your car? Then people are going to look at them like they might be a child predator that sits outside of McDonald's
Yeah.
play places.
Can you imagine how that car smells? I mean, can you even
No.
imagine?
No.
Oh Lord.
Well, and then you remember when Kirk went down to Florida, right? When right after the Timothy trial and he didn't show up. And remember then after that when Randy got mad at him later on and said like he stole a car and left in the middle of the night or whatever with Field's situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when he went down to Florida, the reason Randy got pissed off at him, I don't know if anybody knows this, but this ties them all in with the other crazy, is because when he went down there, like Randy had paid for him to go down there to like, I think work on, well, obviously something against Kim, I'm sure. And she's like something about getting him a place to stay or something like that. And he's like, oh no, I can just stay at Neely's. And then he was down there way longer than he was supposed to be because, you know, him and Neely were sleeping together. And like he was staying at Neely's house because her husband was deployed. He was staying at her house on base. And word is, just saying, he was having like the drugs delivered to him on base and all kinds of stuff. And Neely's mom was down there and with the girls and left because her and Kurt got into it. And then he pushed Neely and almost got arrested. But that's why Randy got so mad at him.
You know, they're all Christians.
Yeah, they're so
Doing the
Christian.
Lord's work.
I mean, what I was told was like that it was marijuana, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure he's probably having meth dropped off, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, you never know.
Well,
How
I do
many
know,
men
I do
was
know,
Neely
I do know
banging?
Kirk's previous history is meth charges.
Mm-hmm.
How many men was Neely banging?
A lot.
Who's that? Ronnie Knowles. She was banging him.
He's
She had
crazy.
a husband. Kirk.
Her husband was
Good
no,
God.
she literally was living on base.
That's a hell of a dude.
And her husband was deployed. Kirk went and stayed there and they were screwing.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's just
Nice.
Because
Yeah.
he was, her husband was stationed at
Shame
Pensacola.
Randy and Tim and Kirk were in
Ocala,
Hallett's house.
Ocala is 300 miles from Pensacola, so that was a hell of a commute. So
and then she went and did her crazy stuff with Chris after that, you know, and that's Kirk's business partner. So I don't know, she might have been screwing him. Who knows? They say they weren't, but only one's alive to talk about it.
Yeah, that's a regular merry-go-round. Well, Neely could write a book, you know, or
Literally.
something.
So she's gonna have.
I
She's
mean,
gonna
it
have a
would
lot
be
of time to do
full
that.
of it would be full of crazy nonsense.
She
Mhm.
needs to take an STD test.
Well,
That's probably
they are pleading temporary insanity to try
Temporary.
to at least get her out of the electric chair or gas.
She's
now
been
in Florida.
temporarily insane for years. How are they going to pull that off?
Yeah, she tried to. I think she ran her mother over with a car or something.
Good
nonsense.
God.
No, she beat her mom while her kids were there with like a suitcase or some crazy shit.
Yeah, there was that, but I thought she also tried to run her over.
No, that wasn't her mom. That was the freaking teacher at her school when she brought in freaking
Oh.
Chris and them's legal documents and said, I have custody of my kids now at the school, slammed it on the desk, grabbed her daughter by the arm and ran out of the school, got her in the car. The teacher was like, no, trying to stop her. And she almost ran her kid's teacher over.
Okay, that's what it was.
And then
Yeah,
they called the police and then they caught her up the road, obviously, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And pulled her over and she stopped to get the daughter. She had Xanax and all kinds of other stuff in the car with her. And
Yeah, that's when she got
the
her
girl that
charges
was
in
arrested with her
South Carolina.
told the police that Neely paid her Xanax to call a CPS report in on her
Yeah,
mom saying
I
she
remember
abused
that.
the kids.
Yeah. What a
She
group.
is nuts. That was like years ago. She's been temporarily insane for way too long for that to work.
Yeah, that might have been before E-Clause. Hard to know, Lori. Because I think she went to E-Clause to try and get her children back.
Yeah, it was before I think E-Clause was actually established, but she had this paperwork that was fake custody paperwork that she took up to the school and said, I have custody of my kids now, and slammed it down and kidnapped one of them. I guess she picked the favorite. I don't know.
I thought she eventually got both of them.
No, it was only one. She almost killed the teacher, and then
the other
they
one was
arrested her.
where
And then they accidentally let her out of jail by a freaking error.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that too.
She's had like the luckiest breaks, and then she just keeps going.
Well, not anymore.
Oh no, not anymore. But I'm just saying she's literally had like the luckiest, like with them screwing up and errors and letting her out, and then her going and trying to kidnap him again, and then her going and kidnapping him again, and then getting out and getting out and getting out. Like just that last time that she did it, they let her out. And then she went and killed Chris.
I can't imagine Pendergrass isn't going to be subpoenaed to that trial if she has a defense attorney that's worth anything.
Yeah. The problem with that case is I've talked to Marion County. They have sealed a lot of the discovery. It's like pulling teeth, trying to get anything out of the state attorney's office. And the one thing that they have sealed is the witness list. And from what I understand, there's quite a few witnesses.
I would imagine Kirky's has to be on that one.
Yeah.
I think the child she took from school was one of the two. It was just years ago. And then she ended up doing it again and kidnapping both of them more recently.
Well, that was where she took them from her mother.
Yes. And because her mom let her have them. And then she took off with them and wouldn't answer the phone. But the time before that from the school was years ago, and she only took one of the two girls because I think she was on
bond. She was on bond for that case when she shot Hallett.
Yeah.
Is that a violation of?
Yeah, a little bit. But
I mean, I do think they say you can't have any like law enforcement contact.
Or blow anybody away.
I think that's in there somewhere.
Yeah, she kind of blew that one big time.
Well, I mean, she literally has blew a lot of shit because, like I said, she has been pretty lucky with the whole like doing crazy shit and then walking away and like literally getting some kind of a slap on the wrist. And then she just literally kept pushing her limits. This is what happens when you let people feel invincible to the law.
Yeah.
Because you have this person saying, oh, these laws aren't real. These laws aren't real. And then you're going and doing this stuff that is illegal, but then you're literally just getting let out of jail on a technicality, or you're barely getting in trouble for it. It starts to make them feel like, see, I told you it wasn't a real law. Like they're invincible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, this is why, Timmy's doing what he's doing because, he's only wanted for a misdemeanor and he's acting like, he's not guilty of anything, but, only just wanted for a misdemeanor. Whoops. And he's acting like. How the hell that happened? I didn't even open YouTube and I got my echo.
So,
Chad,
you're quite correct.
Chad, you're quite correct. That's exactly why. I don't know why.
Did you hear Kirk's breakdown of Fields' plea bargain?
I heard some of it, and he's completely wrong. The state is not going to plea to anything, and neither is Kim. It's a change of plea, and nola contendere is not.
Yeah, no. He couldn't even pronounce it. He said like nola contende or something.
But he didn't translate it properly, and I even put up, when I did that live stream, I even put up the Florida law, and they say nola contendere is the same thing as a guilty plea because the judge is going to adjudicate him guilty. And he's probably going to get time served. There's going to be some kind of probation, and they are going to set down conditions, one of which is he is going to have to abide by the original restraining order and leave Kim alone. which he should have done in the first place.
Well, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
Yeah,
unless
according to Kirk, they've just agreed to forget the whole thing.
No, if they, this is the thing, John. If they had done that, the case would have been dismissed.
Yeah.
There'd be no hearing.
I
Everybody
know,
would
Mark.
go
I
home
know.
and
Yeah.
have a happy dream. So,
See, we know that. We know that.
Kirk blew that one.
But Kirk blows everything. I mean, it's
he'd blow
goats.
himself if he was able.
Yeah, I bet. He'd never leave home.
But he's not like Marilyn Manson, so he has those 2 extra ribs.
I'm not sure, Sharp. I'm not sure if Alfred's going to be here. There's going to be another presentation given, and it's I'm blank on it right now, but it's something to. Oh, it's an allocution. Is what it's going to be
Allocution.
presented.
Yeah, he's going to have to
Yeah, there'll be an
whatever plea you
allocution.
make, he's going to have to.
Because
They will ask him if
it's
the
not a
plea was
allocution.
made. Are you guilty of these charges? And if you don't say yes to all those questions, the judge doesn't accept the plea. So
Yeah. Yeah,
Isn't
he's going to ask a whole bunch of questions.
I think he
And-
should apologize. I think that would really, sum it up for their side. You know what I mean? Like if he just had to get up there and be like, you know what?
Well, let me say
Kim.
this. Just tune in Monday at 9 a.m. and you're going to find out.
yeah, we're
'cause
going to hear
Because
it.
I think that would really seal the deal for their side. You know what I mean? If he's like, Kim,
Well, Kim
I
has-
apologize that I harassed you and lied on you and did all this shit.
well, the thing of it is, Kim had to approve the plea deal. If she didn't approve it, it wouldn't have gone forward. And I guarantee you, Kim has laid down the law that this is what has to be done in order for her to approve the deal. So,
Yeah, and she cut him.
we
She cut him
are going to
some
find
slack.
out Monday.
She cut him some slack, letting him go back to Wisconsin. I mean, she could have kept his ass in Florida. She's
Mhm.
She probably don't want
She-
him that close to her. Hell.
well, yeah. I don't think his son did either, but
Well, they were. It was a combination of his wife dying and the son saying, "This is, enough. I get him out of here."
But didn't his house get foreclosed on?
Yeah, it's in
So
the
where is
process
he
of
gonna-
being.
Where's
Well,
he going to live?
There, it's a long drawn out process. He's still in that house, and because there's an argument going on between the bank and the Internal Revenue Service, because the Internal Revenue Service has put a lien on the whole property. The house is part of a multi-parcel.
Well,
property.
after Timothy and Kirk were squatting in it, they're dirty asses, and it needs to be condemned.
Yeah, which is
Do they even
unfortunate.
shower?
It's a
Who
nice
would-
house. It's
who would
unfortunate.
buy
that,
it now?
somebody
No,
will buy
it is that house is super
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
I Googled it
It
and was
is.
like,
Yeah.
how in the heck did he get involved with
Yeah.
these loons?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Timmy immediately saw pay dirt. They
If
all
if
They
they
were
foreclose
fighting over
on
the
it cheap enough,
house and-
I might be moving to Wisconsin, y'all.
Plum City.
Yeah.
Plum City in here, okay?
1
Y'all
hour
will-
from
you know what? We'll have
Minneapolis.
a housewarming party. Y'all already know my address.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll go riding around in all those cars.
Yeah.
Ooh, if they
I
leave
I
them-
want to take the hearse to
Look, I
Sure.
want to ask him how much it'll cost to leave them. Just leave the cars. I'll just buy it all. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not
Well,
sure they'll
the
have a
car
choice.
collection- The car collection's worth about $500,000.
But I mean,
Oh.
but foreclosed, is it really worth that much?
No, the car collection alone is worth $500,000.
But if they- would they not take that?
The IRS is going to take it for back taxes.
Okay, so then it wouldn't be that much.
Yeah, the
So
house
that
itself.
I just
That
need a deal.
depends.
House and cars combined. What kind of deal can we do? 2 for 1.
Wouldn't they auction the cars? The banks?
Yeah.
The
yes,
Internal
yeah,
Revenue Service is going to
Yeah,
auction the cars.
That could all happen. It depends
'Cause I've
on.
already-
We can be there at the auction.
Well, see, Levi, what I did is I contacted the auctioneer in Wisconsin that does the treasury auctions for the IRS. And if he gets the contract to sell those cars, because he's the only one in Wisconsin that does it, he's going to call me because he knows that I deal in plastic cars as a dealer. So I'll at least be there. Huh. I want
The hearse to
come on
Timmy's
back in,
arraignment.
Paige. I don't
That's
know what happened.
I'd buy the hearse.
I know why
Just to-
she left. Alex informed her that Phil McConnell is single, so that scared her. So she left.
and if I were Timmy, I'd be hiding, because as soon as that
Well, I don't
ankle
know. I
bracelet
think
comes out,
Kathy might have dibs on him.
Kathy. Oh gosh, we need to find that video of her singing. It is somewhere, and she was singing with good vibes at
God.
the hearing that
Good
Timothy didn't show up to. They were singing in like the parking lot of the
Rock of
the
Ages,
courthouse.
Rock of Ages.
Rock of Ages, blah, blah, blah.
She
Good
sounded
God
like
almighty.
a dying cow.
I bet you Glow has it. Glow, put that up. Come on. Well, Glow's got access to all that stuff.
Laura has
I
access
kind
to
of
a
like
lot of
Kathy.
stuff.
She's entertaining. I'll give her that. She's very entertaining.
When she's not putting a hit on you.
I know. I'm gonna
Well-
kill you, Levi.
Well, Sharp, what happened was that the lawyer informed the court that Cole could no longer have Field in the house because of a family situation. You know, the wife was pregnant and they already have another child, so I think there was a lot of cabin fever going on. And then, as luck would have it, his wife died around that time, and so with Kim's blessing, they shipped him off to Wisconsin, and so that's what happened there.
Can you imagine Field without social media and can't call anybody, and he must have drove them insane, you know? Just
Yeah, well, he's still under the same restriction in Wisconsin, and
yeah.
fortunately, his house does not have internet. That's why he rented the bank in downtown Plum City, is because it was the only place he could get internet. And
he wanted, and I hope Kim didn't allow this, but she actually said that he was trying to get permission to talk to Good. Kim's like, should I? And we're like, what? No.
yeah, she's no, he is under the same restrictions. There's only his neighbor, I think he can go to, because his neighbor has internet access.
Well, we know Good Vibes was in contact with him, Mert.
Oh yeah, of course.
I watched one of the hearings and Good Vibes was peeping.
Oh yeah, he
around
was on the Zoom
corner.
hearing. Yeah, well, you know, but
Looked like an idiot with his face peeking out behind a corner.
That red face of his. Oh,
yeah,
man.
you might be right, Laurie, because I think I got into an argument with someone over the internet access. I think that he did, because I'm trying to remember. I'd have to go through my notes, but I think when I
Yeah,
drove,
that is true. He did.
when I drove down the road,
I think he was on with Jason Goodman from his house.
My equipment was detecting a router within, because the equipment I have can pick out a router at about 600 feet, and his house is 400 feet off the road. So if he had a router there, that's probably what I picked up.
Yeah, he was on with Jason Goodman one time from the house.
Yeah, well,
remember that?
Yeah, well, supposedly Kurt Pendergrass was streaming from the house at one time.
That's true. That's right.
But
Yeah.
you know, I thought maybe he went down to the studio, but the background that Kirk had when he was at the house was different, so it was probably from the house itself. But you know, because when I looked inside the windows of the bank, I couldn't figure out how it conformed to the studio, because in the, you know, there's a door in one corner that you would see people coming in and out of, and in the bank there's no door. There's only one way into that half of the building, and it doesn't line up properly with the studio. So that must have been at his house or someplace else at some time when he did the bulk of his streams.
Yeah. Can you imagine Timmy in your house?
Hmm.
No.
And Kirk. Oh yeah, you guys just stay as long as you want.
I remember Kirk was paranoid because he thought drones were flying around the house.
Yeah. Drones. And he had to tell everybody that Timmy peed on the toilet seat and that he cleaned it up. I mean, would you? I'm sure that happened, but would you tell everybody about that?
Yeah, Warrior Kirk could use his phone as a hotspot. I do the same thing when I use my laptop on the road. You have to have the coverage of the towers to do it, and that was a problem at Field's house at one time. Is they had not the towers in place, but I think at some point, probably around the time that Kirk showed up, and so forth, they had put up one or two more towers, and that allowed Field to get internet access because it's a very, very small town, and Field house is 5 miles from downtown. It's in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by corn. That's with a C. Yeah,
Must
there
have been
may be.
that 5G tower that Timmy was trespassing on. That's why
No,
they have
what that was, John. You know what's funny? How that came about, and it's in my video. But Timothy was visiting Phil McConnell in the county jail up there, and directly across the street was this tower. And so
Was it
Timmy went.
Was it a conjugal visit, Mert? Go
Have to
ahead.
ask the sheriff that one. But anyway, you look from the parking lot of the sheriff's office. Here's this tower. He went over there, took pictures of it, did his little video. I called up the company that's leasing the tower, and it's not a 5G tower.
No,
Because they
it's
don't.
not.
Nobody has 5G capable phones in Plum City,
Yeah,
or
there are no
not
5G
in
towers.
the town where this county jail is, which is about an hour from Field's house. And I went up there to take pictures of the county jail, and I turn around and here's this freaking tower, and it clicked. It's the same damn tower that's in his video. And so that's how he found this big 5G tower. What a freaking joke.
You think a guy that was one man away from Trump would know shit like that, Martin, but I guess not.
Well, they would think that about a lot of shit that he puts out there. I mean, God.
Everything he's ever done, God.
I mean, I think it's Chad that puts up the transponders, and he could take one look at that tower and say, "Oh hell no, those are 4G units, repeaters," because it's easy to spot 5G equipment and 6G, which will be rolling out shortly. But because that's why you have to have so many of those things up there, because the higher you go in the microwave spectrum, the shorter the signal. And so they're putting them up every 100 feet now for the higher spectrum. They're putting them up on telephone poles and apartment walls and stuff like that because they have to be so damn close together. It's really weird.
It's a shame Timmy will not be able to take advantage of 6G. He'll be in jail.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Well, he's scared shitless of 5G, so you won't see him anywhere near 6G.
Good news, Tim. We have it in your jail cell.
Mm-hmm. 3 squares and a cot.
Timmy's going to have a hard time in prison.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, Paige. Something happened. Come back in again.
Yeah, we lost Levi and Paige. Come back.
Oh, there she is. Let's try this again. Add the stream. There we go.
Okay, I'm back.
Hi, Paige. Where'd you go?
It kicked me.
I don't know if I hit
Welcome
a
back.
button or what the hell happened.
It might not have been you.
I think Levi.
Yeah. She's
I
back.
was well, and then right at that moment, I was looking at comments right before it kicked me. I was about to respond to Alex because how I was saying I was just going to move there and buy the house if it went for low enough on foreclosure. Alex said, "Well, Field is single again. Yuck."
Oh my God.
F off. No, thank you. No.
Nope. Nope.
And then you guys went into the whole like, well, I don't know if they really have good internet out there. I'm like, I don't want to buy that damn house then.
Well, you can get
forget the whole
Starlink.
thing.
You can get Starlink.
I need internet.
Oh, you can get Starlink. You can get it, and Starlink is a heck of a lot better than standard internet, even 5G. Like.
Well, whatever, as long as I can get internet, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I just can't be living out in the cabins in the middle of nowhere and not have internet.
Oh yeah, that's.
Especially if I can't make somebody come move with me, because then I'm going to be scared of everything. Like a trucker's going to stop on the highway and come in and kill me in the middle of the night. That's what I always think about, like out in country houses, like that, a trucker's just going to be passing through and come in and kill me, and then nobody's going to catch them because like they're going to be like 7 states away before anybody finds me.
Well, what's funny is that he's got a sign out in front of his house. I can't remember it right here, out in the driveway, because it's a half a mile to the house from the highway. It's this long winding driveway that goes down, and then there's a circle and you come back out again. But there's a sign down there. It's something, it's one of these where trespassers will be shot, or if you come in, you won't come back out again unless you're in a body bag. He's got some pretty stark warnings on his little driveway there.
Oh, that's good. So basically, I could just go there and fire away on people if they try to come up in my shit. I need to go move there then.
Yeah, castle doctrine.
But the only point is, do you know how bad when that gets foreclosed on though, and like somebody else buys it, in foreclosure? Can you imagine how hard they're going to get like come down on by these nuts saying that they wrongfully have this house?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be funny. I would love to fly up there for that auction.
Well, not even just the auction. Don't you think they're like the types that would send like anonymous letters and like crazy shit, like you don't legally own this house?
Yeah,
like to harass the new people.
Well, they'll do some sovereign shit and sue for the property, because they're you can get the farm
remonstrance
to basically take the house. Because they threatened to sue judges, and yes, it is still in foreclosure.
And it feels threatened every, I think, judge in that area, the guy that was handling the bankruptcy and everything.
Well, you see, the thing of it is, John, his legal problems are not over, because once he's done with the state of Florida, he may have to deal with the state of Wisconsin, because he's threatened the bank official that's handling the mortgage,
and the judge,
officer of the court. But he on camera, it is alleged that he threatened the bank man and the bank official who was handling the foreclosure. So,
is it not illegal? Am I wrong? Is it not illegal to go like that far, like in debt with IRS, or you can just do that and they'll just take your shit? I'm just not sure how that works.
Well, it is illegal. They, he owes the IRS right around $150,000. Because
did he own that house? Like, is that house his 100%?
No, he's got a mortgage on it.
Well, how much has he paid on it then? Are they even going to get that out of that house from him then?
Well, it depends on what it goes for. And with the real estate market right now, the bank may get their money back.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that, because that's kind of crazy right now.
He's in arrears for around $250,000 in that neighborhood. The house is appraised for $400,000, and it's going up every year because of this real estate nonsense. Because he's an hour from St. Paul. And so, people will commute that far, although in the winter, it must be awful to get into that town. Because it took me from the airport to Plum City, it took me 45 minutes. And that was the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport, which is kind of on the west side of town. It's fairly close to Minneapolis, but it's still kind of in the fringes. So it's, you drive around the loop and then go into Wisconsin, and it's right around an hour from the house.
Yeah, I would think the IRS would just grab the cars because they're easy to liquidate.
Oh yeah, the cars will be gone because there's people like me that deal in classic cars that are just waiting for that auction. Because I
Yeah,
know,
like my grandpa, I need to tell him.
yeah,
He's like obsessed. He already has like, I don't even know how many. So many.
hmm well, if he's got a dealer's license, but they, like, yeah, I figured out the cars that he owned, and I appraised them, and 2 years ago when I appraised them, they were running right around $500,000. And I don't know what the market is right now. I'd have to keep checking because with COVID, everything just kind of went haywire, and now everything's starting to recover.
Yeah, doesn't he have a? Does he have a Shelby, or he's got one really nice muscle car that I can't remember. Is it GTO or Shelby?
Yeah, I'd have to check that. I think it should go up. But he's got a ride, a hot rod. He's got 2 limousines, and then he's got the hearse. He's got a Chrysler Imperial convertible, which is worth a boatload of money, and some really interesting cars. And I got to find my list. He's got about 20 of them, and he's got 2 of these great big steel farm buildings that are just full of cars and all kinds of stuff. He's got all kinds of crap up there. He's kind of a pack rat. And so the IRS is going to have a field day when they go in there.
God, and he had a great life. I mean, in getting involved with these people. I mean, it's just. I mean, he must have went insane. He really had to. I mean,
Well, he was let go by the airline because he wouldn't take a psych evaluation, which is required to fly a plane, and so they basically just put him on a pension and shoved him out the door.
Yeah, which was huge. I mean, he still had it made. I mean,
it was a pretty decent amount of money, and he was getting. You see, all that corn on his property is not his. He leases the land to his next door neighbor, and so he gets a share. Sharecropping. He gets a share of the profits from the corn, and it's a lot of corn.
But it was just he had too much free time at that point. He didn't have a job, but still had enough money to have all his stuff. But he had way too much free time.
Still, I mean,
and then he fell into the
Homestead
likes of Timothy Homestead and David Strait and Randy.
Got involved in
that
all
was
this
his
crazy
downfall.
stuff.
That was
to
downfall.
answer Warrior's question. That's what's holding up the foreclosure right now. Is there's a fight between the IRS and the bank as to who has rights to the house, because the lawsuit that was filed has the IRS as a defendant in the foreclosure, because the bank wants that house and they don't want the IRS to have any part of it. And they keep
right, because then they're going to lose money.
Yeah,
because they still have a mortgage.
Well, see, they're considered a credit. It's like a bankruptcy proceeding where you've got all these creditors that want the same asset. But the IRS can pretty well tell the bank to go to hell, because they're, but the thing of it is, here, if the IRS uses its head, they can just take the damn cars and the rest of the farm, because this is the divided property. The house is on about 5 acres, and then the 2 other parcels have to do with all these crop fields, because there's livestock on one and corn on the other. And so that's where the IRS could get their money, because that property is not in foreclosure. It's the house that's in foreclosure. Wow. And that's where they can get their money back, plus the cars, plus they'll sell everything that's not nailed down. Furniture, clothing. He has a huge gun collection. There's all kinds of stuff in that house. So the IRS is going to get their money.
Will he not be able to like take his stuff? No.
They'll put a lien on everything.
Well, then where's he going to live when this takes place? He wants to get back to Wisconsin. Like, he wants to be in Wisconsin, right? But
that's a good question.
He's going to have to buy a house or buy an apartment somewhere.
How is he going to do that, though?
Still has his pension.
Oh.
The IRS cannot touch his pension.
Are we sure that he hasn't put that into legalese or signed it off to somebody else so it wouldn't get taken?
There'd be a record of it. And you're getting into all kinds of
Oh.
fraud. So the
Well,
house
you know
is
how they like, to sign stuff to other people to say like, well, now they
Yeah,
can't
they try to
take
do that,
it.
but they with the IRS, none of that stuff works. I mean,
Well,
no,
good, thank God. I was just
yeah,
making sure because I was going to say
no,
he
no,
might
no,
not
no, no.
have anything now.
No, he's not going to have anything when this is all done. Yeah,
have a lot less than he had. You know,
yeah, he's going to have his pension. He can go get himself a flat somewhere, or
that's
else
what
live with good bribes or something.
He
that's
can get a
what
Nissan, and him, Timmy, and Randy can be like, co-partners in the parking stalls.
I'm
Mhm.
telling you. And if I were Timmy, I would run and hide because if it was me, I'm just thinking the way I think, and my wife was gone, and the IRS is after me, and I'm doing 2 years of probation, and I'm 70 years old.
I'm not going to have a house or a nice
Yeah,
house.
yeah. They're selling all my
All my
cars,
cars, everything is
and
getting
and
taken from me.
Field was basically harmless until Timmy got his hooks in him. I mean,
Yeah.
Field had not done anything. I mean, he was way out there. But so if I was Timmy or Randy, I would, they're not going to. I would be worried. Frankly, with
Yeah,
Yeah.
scared of Field. Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, what does he have left to lose? Not
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
much.
and do we know what happened to Denise?
She passed away. I think it was a heart attack or something. She was an extremely heavy smoker, but there was a uh, heart condition of some kind, I believe. I can't be positive on that, but that was what was going around.
Well, I just
Yeah.
didn't know if maybe one of them put a hit out on her.
Now there was a rumor that they wanted
Yeah, there
to.
was some kind of talk about
But I mean,
getting rid of
I think they
Denise.
would be like smart enough to do it like the doomsday cult parents, you know what I mean? Not with the
Mhm.
kids, but with like the ex-husband and then the ex-wife. Remember, because in the ex-wife they had her for what, a year as a natural death and the brother as a natural death.
Mhm.
But really it's like
Well,
you like
Denise
shoot
was
insulin
not
in the
in
bottom
the
of their
United.
tongue and nobody will know.
Yeah, Denise was not in the United States. She was overseas. Uh,
Oh.
See, the problem, there was a big problem. She was trying to get back in the country, but there was a problem with her passport. And then right around that time, Phil got arrested. And so
Yeah.
that was all put on hold. So she was back in her home country, which was Ireland, I think, when she passed away.
Oh.
And
I didn't
so
know that.
even though Phil McConnell was up in Plum City, he was not allowed to leave the country. That was the one thing the court would not allow. So he had to
No.
do everything remotely.
No.
Like
And the amount of
funeral.
stress she must have been under with all this bullshit. I mean, it must have been
Yeah,
incredible.
it's
Yeah.
possible because she'd been ill for a long time because he talked about it. She was not in very good shape.
Well, yeah, and then all this stuff was coming up. The IRS was coming after their house
Mhm.
already.
Yeah,
Phil gets 3 months extra in jail because of Kirk Pendergrass.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean, like that. And if she already had heart issues, I could see how that could play. I mean,
No.
you're basically your house that you know is your house, right? Which is why you even have like a green card and live here, right?
mhm,
Yeah, they went through hell
And then
getting her
that's
over.
gone.
Yeah.
Even though it's not gone right then, it's going to be gone soon. Eventually.
mhm,
And the house plus all the assets, the cars, everything in it, you're not going to have anything, clothes, furniture, nothing.
mhm. Yeah, because
He went through.
I
He
mean, I
went
don't
through
even
a
have
lot of
heart
shit to
problems,
get
and
her
that
over
might
here.
cause me to just have a heart attack.
Yeah, yeah. Just another victim of Timothy Holmseth.
I
Yeah.
feel like it
Yeah.
because I mean, I couldn't imagine already having heart issues, and then all this stuff, and then like your husband, who's one that basically supports you and everything, is in jail in a whole nother state or whatever.
Yeah.
Or even when you know what I mean, and then you're having to go fix your green card because something's wrong with it, which whatever. Then it's like not only is he in jail, they're talking about him being in jail for years at this point because you won't take a plea,
Yeah.
and then
I think
and then the IRS is coming down on your house and cars. Like what?
I think at the time she was actively involved in trying to separate Field from these wingnuts too, and they
Mhm.
were very upset about that. And I think she was trying to get him competent legal help, and that was, upsetting to all these turds. So
That's what I'm saying. I couldn't imagine because, like I said, even if I didn't have like any kind of issues, like just imagine all that stuff though, without even having like heart issues or something like that. That would put you in like a stress category, like beyond imaginable, I guess.
That's what I mean, Tim. You better. Timmy
But
will
at the
probably
end
be
of
in
the
jail by
day,
then. But
but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, it's like they caused it, or they supposedly, were going to help you and did all this stuff and fucked you in the long run. But like, really, who can you blame but yourself? Like, you're that old. You've had all this experience. You were a freaking pilot, for God's sake. So you're not an idiot.
no,
And
no.
like, how did you fall into this?
That's what I mean. I think he had some sort of issues, to begin
Well, that's
with.
probably why he wouldn't take a psychological evaluation. Wasn't he in the military?
Yes.
Briefly.
Yep. No, he flew F4s. I mean, he had a decent
So I
career.
wonder if there was something with that.
Yeah, he was never in combat, but
Oh,
I
He
think
flew for the Air National Guard over in
Yeah.
Hawaii briefly.
I think he was in Dakota too. He was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so
it was,
so that's what I mean. So I wonder like if he knew, but he obviously knew something was wrong if he wasn't willing to take a psychological evaluation.
yeah, he probably had a sense that, he was in trouble, because what the problem was is he was spouting all these 911 theories about that time, about a chip on the airplane that would make it so people could get control of it and fly it into the building or something. I mean, he was just, and they said,
And
no.
Hawkins, yeah, he got hooked up with Hawkins.
Yeah, Hawkins messed him up.
Yeah, another grifter. I mean, that. Who was it? What's that guy's name? Agent Serco did a really good expose in Hawkins, and I mean, Hawkins is not a dumb guy, but he's always been kind of a grifter throughout his.
I was wondering if it couldn't have been like even like unnoticeable, like onset, like dementia, or something for older people.
Yeah, that's possibly. It kind of scares me because I'm 2 months younger than him. Well, actually, his birthday
You know what I mean? Because
is in
like
the same week as mine.
that brief time where it's just like you kind of forget stuff, or like sit something down and lose it or whatever, and like even your like closest family and stuff like that wouldn't even assume it's dementia. They just think you're just kind of not losing it, but you know what I mean? Like, oh, you just can't remember. Oh, where you sat something down or where you left something, and like they don't realize, because it's not just full on dementia, that it's literally like the early onset, like dementia type stuff. And I'm wondering if maybe it couldn't have been something like that, and that's why he was such an easy target. Because other than that, it doesn't make very much sense to me, because he, even with the first scam or whatever he fell into, like he was like this dude flew airplanes. Like, he's not an idiot.
Yeah, he was a pilot. But you get to a point where you've got, he's one of these people that wanted to be important, and he was hell bent on this theory of his. And yes, he drank a lot.
Yeah, there's an alcohol issue. Yeah.
So that's,
Well, Mark, if you ever start doing live streams talking about your friend Tim Holmseth and the PPTF, we'll come down to Florida and make sure you get the help that you need.
We'll come get you some meds.
I think Timmy has cured you from that. He probably extended your life, and he's ruled out dementia, because he would never. I can't see you ever falling for any of that horse shit. So thanks, Tim. Wherever you are.
I mean, you know what I mean, though? Like, to me, he's like you would almost think like the least like of society. You know what I mean? Like, because honestly, with all these grifters, like how they get with like parents and like talk them into like kidnapping their kids, or going on, raiding their foster homes with guns to steal them, and all. Like, they're literally dealing with like vulnerable parents who've just like lost custody of their kids. Like, they're kind of like, obviously they're emotionally, mentally messed up at that point in time, even if they were mentally messed up before that, you know what I mean? Obviously, even the crappiest of parents, if they get their kids taken, you know what I mean? It's going to be like something, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thread through all of this. They've
and then it's like, I can understand though how they fall into this stuff. Those type of people,
vulnerable,
like that are going through an emotional turmoil. Kids are taken, whether right or wrong or whatever. You know what I mean? Their kids are being taken. they're emotional, they have mental, for that moment, whether it's temporary, mental issues because of the situation. I can understand how like those kind of people fall into this crap with these people. But
Yeah.
like people like Field is like, he's like the, like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
I
pilot.
think Phil had issues for a long time, and probably when he was with Northwest, and then when he got out, and I got hooked up with Hawkins, it just made it worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'm sure he never got any competent help, but we're talking like a 10-year period at least, Mert, or maybe 15 years between when he left Northwest and,
Yeah, it's because he left Northwest right around 9/11, right after it, because almost immediately after 9/11 is when his theories started to come out about this autopilot thing and this computer chip. And then Hawkins and all these other people got involved, and it all went downhill from there. Because a lot of his stuff was going on in England, because he would go over to England all the time. And that thing that Agent 19 put up where he says he's having thoughts about kids happened in England at one of these seminars.
Yeah, the Children's Crusade. I remember that.
Yeah, that was in England. He made an excuse to go over there all the time. And
this person said something in the comments about, it was like he had a tumor start growing in his ear. And he still hasn't like had any, he never went for treatment, and that started growing, like he first got it in 2016. He never went in for treatment, and then he's using all these crazy natural cures.
Yeah, well,
wow. I hadn't heard
he's
that
living
one.
on borrowed time if that's the case.
I hadn't heard that one. Wow.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, because when he went for his arraignment, which is the last time I remember seeing him on camera, he didn't look very well.
Well, shit, he'd been in jail for like 3 months at that time.
Yeah, well, he had just been transferred down from Wisconsin, and he sat there over the weekend.
Didn't he look like real skinny?
Yeah, he was gone. This is the best way to describe.
Like
I'll be curious
first hearing.
if you can get a shot of him going in the courthouse, Mert.
That's one of the reasons I'm going down early, is because I'm going to start streaming at 7:45 in the morning or a little earlier, and I will be at the courthouse pointing my camera at the entrance. So whoever goes in that door, because the courthouse opens at 8:00. And John, something happened. You went off the air.
Yeah, I got bounced out.
Yeah, we bounced right back. But I'm going to try and get a glimpse of him before he goes in and after he comes out. It's just see what happens there. Plus, I'll be, of course, I'll be in the courtroom live, and I'll describe what he looks like from inside the court. I'm not allowed to take any pictures inside the courthouse at all. So I can't,
Right.
So
Martin, that's it.
Mart, are you going to do the event thing? Because I think I saw you. You put that.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I will just go off camera, and I'm going to leave the event open.
Awesome.
And so that should allow everybody to chat while I'm in the courthouse, because I tested that yesterday, and it works. So
awesome.
Well, that's kind of crazy, because if he has a little bump that started growing in his ear and started causing him to kind of go nutty, which apparently one of his followers is saying, if you listen to him from 2014-15, he sounds like a totally different person. And in 2016 is when that tumor started, or the tumor started growing in his ear and causing him to, sound different and act different. Well, and they say it's currently growing. So like it was growing and he never got treatment and he's doing natural stuff, like that could be cancer and he's not even getting checked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you get it's brain cancer.
I mean, if you have a tumor that starts growing, that's never a good sign if it starts growing.
And there was the other tumor, Timothy Holmseth, that he suffers from. He's got a tumor in his ear, and then he's got a human one.
Well, Tennessee Lights, if Field does not show up in the court, that's called bail jumping, and his son loses his house. His son mortgaged the house to pay for the bond, which is
And
a
he
considerable amount.
he does 5 years.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
that's,
I believe he's going to be there.
Mert, can't you, if he's walking in or out, can you, especially if he's walking out and he's leaving on probation, can you not ask him for an interview? You know he loves cameras.
I can ask, and that's my intent. If I see an opportunity there, I will ask Phil some questions. But
You know he loves, you just say you want to do an interview, you know he likes cameras, and
Mhm.
he might want to spew some nonsense.
Well, what I'm
Yeah.
going to do is I'm going to say, "Do you want to make a statement, Phil?" And
Yeah.
and it's going to be the cameras right there. So
What I would love to see him react to is your opinion of Timothy Homestead. That would be priceless.
Yeah,
right
I think
there.
you should. That's what I think too. Like, I think, well, if he says yes or whatever, or he makes a statement, you should say, like, how do you feel about what Timothy did to you?
Yeah, I have a line of questions depending on the circumstances and whether or not his lawyer or his son is going to let him say anything. Because usually in these things, the lawyer will make a statement on his behalf, or the lawyer may decide not to make any statements at all. It just depends on if there's been a
Right.
discussion about what happens when he leaves the courthouse, and the son may say something too. And I am not going to be overly aggressive. I'm going to see,
Yeah,
what
no.
because it's not worth confrontation or
No,
anything like
no.
that. If he's willing, fine. If he's not, then that's fine too.
That would be awesome.
I just want to know
he-
if he you know what I mean? I just want to know if he realizes.
Oh
like,
yeah,
does
he
he-
does. He does.
Like, has he sat there
Yeah.
and really realized what Tim did to him, Timothy?
Yes, that through I think it was several people that
So he does.
had
He
posed.
does
Oh yeah.
he realizes he was fucked real good
I believe so.
with no lube.
And it's going to sink in Monday, believe me. When he finds out, well, he already knows, but when the rubber meets the road and he's standing before the judge and the judge says, well, I adjudicate you guilty of these charges.
And you're a convicted felon.
Yeah, you're automatically a convicted felon. You lose certain rights. You cannot have guns in the house.
Yeah.
Can't vote.
Yeah.
Can't vote. His life is ruined. And that's
and literally, and it's all for what? Just so he could stick up for Timothy against somebody he's been bullying for over a decade.
Yeah, and he doesn't even know her.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He does not know Kim. He has not met her face to face because he's appeared in Zoom hearings. He's only seen her on a video. He has never looked her in the eye.
I know, that's what I mean. That's what's so crazy to me. Timothy told him XYZ, right? He just believed it and went on video oh, this, that, and the other. And even with guns, threatening her and all this crazy stuff for Timothy. And he never even asked, I guess, you know what I mean? The other side, or maybe there's more to this, or what exactly, you know what I mean? To me, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You're literally leaving Florida a felon because you didn't even have you just believed everything Timothy said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he lied to you, and he was lying to you and knew he was lying to you the whole time.
But to be fair, Field, before he ever knew Timothy, had, I think, the delusion that he was in touch with people in the military and that were.
Well, I honestly, I think so too, because I remember when what was his name? The preacher guy, David Preacher, Daniel.
Oh God.
I remember when Daniel went live outside after Timothy didn't show up, and he was trying to I guess talk to, he was there to be the news interviewer or whatever, with Kirk and Timothy didn't show up, but Kirk was there, but Kirk had went inside, and then he had found Field, and Field went out around his car. Now I don't know how long he had known Timothy by then, but he was already doing all these crazy stories about the military helicopters trying to come in and kill him and all this stuff.
What Field had done, and when I because I was listening to him for a while, a long time ago, and some of the stuff he said made sense and some of it didn't, but he started to talk about these contacts that he had in the government. This is way before Tim. This is before I even knew who Tim was. And he would say that he had information on a false flag that was that was going to happen in some FEMA zone or something. I was like, yeah. So that kind of stuff that he had contacts high up in the government was kind of going on.
And that's what he was saying. Now, like I said, at this point, he already knew Tim because it was outside when he didn't go to trial. But I don't think he could have known him long enough to like literally have all these tall tales of.
No, I think Timmy.
Especially to find out he wasn't, and he said that he knew, like he's the one that said, he's the one that brought out all this stuff. Remember he was talking about Air Force One and Air Force Two, and they're going to kill.
Yeah,
they were trying to kill Trump, and he knew this because of that.
Yeah,
and then he was saying though, like when he was like in the military, or when he was in the whatever the military of whatever kind, and he had outed something that was a government secret, and people came, and they swooped in and they like dropped in off the ropes from helicopters to try to assassinate him, but like he was gone.
Yeah, the Tim and Field, the day they met, had a selfie taken of him in front of Field's Cadillac.
Yeah.
That was the July before he was arrested.
Yeah.
So it 18?
Yeah, well, it was July of 19.
Yeah. And I think Timmy stole some of Field's bullshit.
Well, of course they stole from each other.
Then all of a sudden Timmy had these high contacts in the government.
No, because it's so funny. If you honestly think about it, they all have like these delusions, like these mental delusions. Like Randy's a judge. David Strait was a Navy SEAL sheriff, and he's friends with President Trump, right? Mm-hmm. Then we have Timothy, who's this badass journalist for the Pentagon. And then we have the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force, which they all are in because Congress enacted it and gave them all jobs, right? Even though they work on donations and not government funding. So that makes no sense to me. And then it's like all of these people, though, are mental with their own delusions, but then they start telling each other their delusions. And then they started intertwining like, it all makes sense like now. Your delusion interacts with mine. And so the kids, so the CPS, the reason the kids are being stolen is because Timothy says that, the cabal is trafficking them and eating them and sacrificing them. So that's why CPS is kidnapping them. And then this, that, and the other. They're like literally intertwining their delusional stories.
It was a mass delusion. And that's how proud they were.
Before the stuff with David Strait and that, Timothy Holmseth had gotten mixed up with Robert David Steele.
Yes.
And the guy that said there's a colony on Mars.
The late Robert David Steele.
Yeah. And David Steele was responsible for hooking Timmy up with a lawyer that tried to sue me and Kim.
That's true. I forgot about that connection.
That lawyer is the one that...
Stephen Biss.
Yeah, he is working with a senator out in California, and they sued an internet cow.
A lot of frivolous lawsuits.
Oh, yeah. Biss is in big trouble with various bar associations right now for that nonsense. But he lost that case.
It was like a perfect storm. Trump got elected, and then QAnon, and then you've got all of these people that were half whacked.
Well, and these people who were already some sort of like mental illness, delusional, conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. It was like a mass delusion that all.
Yeah, because then when they started telling each other their delusions, they started intertwining them, right? Like, my delusion must be true because now it all makes sense. CPS kidnaps kids that don't need to be taken because they're getting eaten and sacrificed by the government cabal, right?
And,
and I think Field was one man away from Trump before Tim was, and I think Tim, when Tim heard that, it's like, well, so am I.
Well, and the stupidest thing is, the one man away from Trump is David Strait, and he.
Another one. Yeah, maybe
Well,
he would
he's
see.
the one who supposedly just walked into the Rose Garden and had to just, he was just friends with Trump. He just walked in
Mhm.
there and had a little chat with him and Melania.
Yeah.
So he's the one man that's between them. I mean, and he's a nut him. I mean, he's crazy. He tells parents, "Oh, we'll just kidnap your kids, like from supervised visit or visitation,
Mhm.
because you can't get in trouble for kidnapping your own kids."
Yeah, and Tim Holmes says shoot anybody, police officers that come to your house too.
Well, did you see that? Yeah, did you see the Vice video with David Strait? He literally says, "Oh, I believe in protecting your house and your property, which is your kids also, because kids are
Mhm.
property,
Yeah.
by any means necessary against the government." Like he's
Yeah.
basically saying, "Shoot them."
Yep.
Yeah.
And so Tim parrots that, Tim, and I think Tim stole most of everything that he's come up with.
Well,
He
of
was,
course he has. That's what.
because Mert, I mean, and Mert, he was stealing. He was doing the same thing as far as you've known him, which was like 12 years ago, trying
Yeah,
to,
it's 12 years.
put himself in the Kaylee Anthony and Haley Cummings and.
Well, mainly Haley Cummings, because before that he had gotten his big thing was John Benet Ramsey, and
And that boy, what was that boy's name?
yeah, that was after Haley. But yeah, the Waterling or whatever his name is there. I had
Wetterling,
Jacob Wetterling. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I had the two women that are close to that case on my show quite a while back. And they
Well,
had
to me, I just like, okay, now I understand, like, if kids get kidnapped, like, chances are, especially if it's from a stranger. Now,
Mhm,
I'm not saying bad stuff doesn't happen to them if it's by a parent, because obviously parents kill their kids and
yeah,
just, get rid of them. Now, that's obviously bad, but I'm saying if they're kidnapped by strangers, it's like a way more highly possibility, like that it's, or not even just strangers, but like, even if it's somebody further off in the family that does it, there's
mhm,
a higher chance of them being, molested or,
yeah,
something sexual happening to them before they get killed.
mhm,
But like, my whole deal is like with Tim, like especially with Timothy, right? Like he said in the Jacob Wetterling case, first off, right, his dad knew about it, and right, so that's like his parent. But then in the, like you said, the John Benet case, and even in the Haley case, he's like, oh, it's the parents, they did this. But then he says like they were sold off into, they were raped and then sold off into child trafficking and this, that, and the
Yeah,
other. It's like,
that's what pisses me off more than anything else is this whole the QAnon thing and everything that Tim's done and all of these people. It's just taking the spotlight, and pedophilia is an epidemic. I mean,
mhm,
we were doing stories about the Boy Scouts and the Real Finders and USA Swimming, Larry Nasser. I mean, the Explorer programs for police and fire department. I mean, and that's just went the Catholic Church, and that's just went on, and it's probably worse than it was, and all the focus has been taken off of it by these
yeah,
well, and
wing
then
nuts.
let's just be honest, these wing nuts running around literally labeling anybody that disagrees with them or
Yep.
calls them what they are,
Yep.
scammers. They're pedophiles, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
they're the
Mm-hmm.
ones that kidnapped Haley, or they're the ones who, kidnapped Jacob and killed him or sacrificed him, or you know what I mean? As
Yeah.
soon as somebody comes after them as being the grifters they are, then it's like you're the one that, like I said, Mert, Alex, and Levi have all been the kidnappers of Haley at one point or another.
Me too. Well, I was some other kind of pedophile, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, see, but
Yeah.
you see what I mean? Like you're either a pedophile or you're linked to one of these high profile cases and you kidnap the children. But my problem with that is, and with the QAnon, like you were saying, is like, they label anybody that, like, say the QAnoners, you can just be like, yeah, I agree. Pedophilia is a huge problem, but fuck Trump, right? And they're
Right.
like, you're a pedophile.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
because I don't like him, right? So, but my whole deal with it is, it pisses me smooth off. There are real victims and like
mhm,
there are real perpetrators. But if you're literally labeling everybody a
Mm-hmm.
victim of this without knowing,
Yeah.
and everybody a perpetrator of being a pedophile without knowing, you are literally taking away from the real victims and them
Yeah.
getting justice against their real actual perpetrators.
that's
Yep.
correct. This is
Yep.
what the problem is with this latest stunt down in Texas. Is he's taken attention away from what really happened to Sophie and trying to get law enforcement to pay attention to his nonsense. And
Well,
And
right. And
Tennessee,
my whole deal with that case
Tennessee.
is at the end of the day, that guy, Michael, ran around and got emergency custody for all three of his kids, right? Because Sophie was being sexually abused, but the boys were being physically abused, right? Well, then how come you left the boys and only took Sophie? Like, to me, I'm sorry, but and this might be like sounding like a hypocrite or like me sounding like them, but I'm not going to say that he is, but that just gives me real pedophile vibes, like grooming vibes.
Don Wells molested his sister, wasn't it, Mark? I mean, that
Yeah.
guy
that's the
is,
story.
yeah,
Uh,
allegedly, but
But you know,
Allegedly, but
with the Michael guy down there, it's like you're saying that your daughter was sexually abused, right? But you're also saying that your sons were, or your son, you know, whoever, how many ever he has with Sophie's mom, right? There's a boy and a girl at least, or two
that he
boys and a girl.
abandoned.
it's
Yeah,
two boys, I believe.
But you
Yeah.
said they're physically abused, she's sexually abused, but then and you got emergency custody. But then when the courts were like, and then gave you guys split custody, right? Which is what they're supposed to have, and they're still going through court right now. You take Sophie, the girl, and run with
Yeah.
her,
yeah,
but
and
you leave your boys to be physically abused if
Right.
that's true.
right.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that just gives me very much grooming vibes. And plus, there was
Yeah.
this video that he did where he was literally explaining like his love for Sophie, and he's like something about his soulmate and some weird shit. And I'm sorry, but like to me, it was like that's not how like you would define like being a like it wasn't just that; it was like a whole thing. And I was like, creepy. Like
It's a million red flags with that guy. I mean,
it was very creepy how he explained like his love for Sophie, not his boys, but Sophie, and
Mhm.
like her being his soulmate and this weird shit. And and then like some other stuff, like, and I was just sitting there like, I've never heard of like just like a loving dad like explaining
well, and
like
I
that.
think Levi documented this. He was literally pimping the daughter out to these weirdos.
He was taking payments from
Charging.
people
Yep,
to let
yep.
them FaceTime her and ask her
Yep,
about her abuse.
Jesus Christ! I mean, that says it all right there. I mean,
He
that,
literally had it on his Facebook, like where they could pay him
if
to call
that's
and talk to Sophie and like not have anybody in the room. It would just be her. So they could just call and talk to her. Oh, okay. So just let any random Tom, Dick, or Harry or Susan call your daughter who supposedly has just been being sexually abused in the home she was in and put her on the phone with random strangers who could also try to groom her or do, you know, she's vulnerable right now. She's just been sexually abused.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. No. Like
So, yeah.
I honestly, he gives me very much grooming vibes, and I'm not going to
Mhm.
say that he is a pedophile, but I'm going to say that I definitely don't get any other vibes from him except for grooming. And why would you leave your two boys or your boy to be left to be physically abused and just take off with your daughter to save her from the sexual abuse?
Yeah.
But like literally threw your other kids to the and then not to mention he's married again and has a baby. Left the baby.
Sick. Definitely.
The new wife had a baby.
Well, hopefully he'll be in custody soon too, and they can get to the bottom of it.
Well, yeah, because they did say that he lost at court because he went on the run and he was supposed to produce her. When was that? Last week, I think. And they had a court case where he lost custody and has a warrant out. So hopefully they can catch him, because I honestly feel like something is not right there with that whole situation. Because I'm sorry, if I feel like, even if I only have proof because one of my kids were to be speaking and saying this is what's happening to them at a house, I would just assume that, like, even if I took that kid right, then one of my next kids would be the line of fire because they'd be the one left there, right? So I wouldn't leave any of them. And if I couldn't get my kids through the court, now if I were to take off with them, it wouldn't just be one. I would.
That'd be all of them.
Yeah.
So
Call me crazy. But there's like in a situation like that, if it's true and you're not coaching your kids, then like there's no time to pick favorites in that kind of a situation.
Nope, get them all out of there. But
Yeah.
you know that didn't happen, and that's
why I say, like, I'm not trying to be a hypocrite, and I'm not saying that he is a pedophile, but I do get very much so like grooming type vibes off him.
Mhm.
And that is just what I will say about him. And I do feel like I honestly, I don't want anybody to get up in harm's way, but with Michael, with Sophie, I do kind of get that vibe. Like, you know, those parents that do that whole, like, they kidnap their kid and then they're like, then it comes down to it. And if they can't have them, nobody can.
Yeah.
Like, you know, murder suicide type situation. I'm
Well,
hoping.
the thing that astounded me is when Levi played that phone call or that stream that the woman said, "This is 911, grab your guns and surround the RV."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is getting into a David Koresh thing, like what's going to happen if, you know, are we going to have a shootout at the OK Corral and the girl gets caught in a crossfire or something? I mean, you know, people are not.
She's intelligent. Why she hasn't been picked up, or the FBI? I'm astounded.
Well, and then not
that
just
thing.
that, honestly, there just how he has acted with Sophie. Now I'm really hoping she is, you know, found and she's safe, and you know, whatever
Mhm.
happens to him happens. But
Yeah.
he really gives me those vibes of one of those parents that would like drive
Yeah.
off a bridge or something because if he can't have her, nobody can. And to me, like, he's very unstable when it comes to her, and he has something going on there with her, and he gives me those vibes, if that makes sense to you. That whole, like, well, if I can't have her, nobody can. And so
I think they're gonna, once they get their shit together, they're gonna snatch him up before he even knows what hit him. And
I hope so,
yeah.
because like I said, with that whole thing, that's the only thing that scares me about that is, like, he seems like one of those people, if that makes sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's scary. That is very
anything's
scary.
possible, but until they get her back and evaluated by real, you know, competent professionals, you know, nobody will ever know. But
Well, you know, the crazy thing is, through the courts, when he got emergency custody at first, they ordered a forensic, what is it called? A forensic
yeah,
evaluation
psychological
on,
exam. Yeah, he failed.
well, no, a forensic on the little girl. So basically like a rape kit and stuff, because he said she was being sexually abused. And then they had given her two, and he's like, oh, because they're with the state, or you know what I mean? The ones that I don't remember how it worked, but basically he was saying because they were the ones through the court, like they were the providers through the court, he didn't believe them and like took her to two more or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, he literally had her medically, now I'm not going to say medically raped, but like, if you know that you're lying and you take your kid to like 4 forensic evaluations to be
That's
rape
child
tested, and
abuse. Child abuse.
that is disgusting.
Well, looks like Mama's headed out of here. And
Yeah, she's taking the puppies out.
I think I'm gonna have to. Mine are sleeping, but I'll have to do this. It was nice meeting you, Paige. Right?
You too, yes.
Yeah, and Mert, Godspeed.
Yep.
We got your back. We'll be watching the chat room.
Okay, John, I'll reset everything Monday. So, you know, go take care of the fur friends, and you have a good one, what's left of it.
All right, we'll be waiting in anticipation for your coverage.
Well, I'll cross our fingers and hope everything goes well Monday.
All right, God bless.
All right, good night, John.
Good night. Good night.
And I guess this is going to be a wrap, guys. I'm going to go ahead and close it down. I've got to start getting preparations made for leaving tomorrow and making sure the equipment works right and all this other happy stuff. So I want to thank everybody for coming in. If you would, please like, subscribe, share, and stay tuned. I will be streaming on the road live for part of the trip tomorrow. Once I get all the equipment set up, I'm going to be leaving Apopka probably around noon. And I'm going to go down there, going to check into the hotel. And then I'm going to do kind of a sneak preview of the court. I'm going to run over there with a camera and come on the air Sunday afternoon for a little bit, go back to the hotel, get settled down, and maybe around 9 o'clock Sunday night, go back on the chat here, and we'll have a little bit of a chat before I go to court Monday. So until then, this is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1. Have a good one.